Auld Triangle. My name is Ian O'Neill. As always, I am joined by Andy Stevenson and Caoilte and Barra, and we're going to bring you all the latest and greatest news in Irish mixed martial arts. And we were talking before, lads. We were on episode 24. We were saying how excited we were about Irish MMA coming into 2023, and my goodness, business is a booming since that episode. We have lots of announced fights to discuss. We have the Premier FC card. Myself and Andy will be coming on towards the end of the podcast to talk about that card. We are recording this one a little bit earlier today. So up tip is right. Nathan Kelly and Ronan Deegan are going to be joining us on the show today. Ronan obviously competing on the upcoming IMMAF World Championships. Nathan Kelly has a date on the PFL Challenger Series on March 3rd against Zachary Wilson. So we'll get all the latest from the two lads as well. But we shall move on, and we're going to talk about, after, Kieran Davern was on with us and gave us an excellent interview last week, lads. How are you first? How are things? So let's not get straight into it. Let's
You're primed and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go here. I'm excited.
There, aren't you?
Exciting times. It's exciting times. How are the boys? Are you keeping well?
Flying it now. Busy.
Absolutely.
I don't think that excitement doesn't sound that it's all equal there, lads. Come on, what's going on?
I'm fucking buzzing. I can't wait.
I'm all coffeeed up here. It's close to midday in Canada now. I'm fresh as a daisy. I'm mad to talk fights and everything. But
we've a shitload to talk about, don't we? Like we recorded, like we were chatting. We recorded last week or whenever it was. And then all of a sudden you blink and Irish MMA is just on fire. So we'll get into all that later on, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing.
Our bold predictions look like a load of them are probably already going to happen just from some of the stuff that's that's been announced. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It is. And like I said, we were talking to Kieran last week, and it was it was great to hear from him. He gave us the background on the coaching and coming into the IMMAFs here, and we've since had the official IMMA team announced that are going over to the World Championships. So, Caoilte, I'm going to send it over to you. You're traveling over to the competition. If you want to just, kind of give us a rundown of maybe some of the athletes that are heading over there to compete, and we'll have a little discussion around. Obviously, we're going to look at it a little bit more closely and everything like that. But as it happens, but maybe just give us a rundown of the team, and we can have a little discussion of who we're looking out for and who we're expecting a big tournament from.
Yeah, so we're flat out at the moment, just prepping for the Worlds. It's going to be the biggest World Championships IMMAF has had. The most nations, I think, as of yesterday, there was 62 nations. Ireland has a very strong team going over. Smaller than probably has been sent over before, but it's still a very good squad that I think have a really good chance of medaling. So I'll just rattle through the list quick enough. I got Sarah Elliott Sheridan at junior bantamweight, Owen Masoliver at junior flyweight, Jake Ngai at junior bantamweight, Marco Cardio at junior middleweight, Mohamed Aftarana at junior light heavyweight. He's making his IMMAF debut, which I'm excited about. Lisa Houston at senior strawweight, Megan Hamill at senior flyweight, Ava Cruz at senior flyweight as well, Kerry-Ann Vernon at senior bantamweight, Ronan Deegan at senior featherweight, Jordan Bradshaw at senior lightweight, and Danny Hartwell at senior heavyweight. That's a new name that I don't think many will be too familiar with. But
the Tony Cascarino of Irish MMA, they say.
The granny rule, lads. They never mind the FAI. I may even have the granny rule now. So we got one over the line through the granny rule. I think he lives in
John Delaney involved in IMMA these days, is he?
I don't know about that
now. Yeah, look, we're always privy to picking up any Irish talent as well. You show even a shade of Irishness, and we're going to claim you for sure. But
listen, Danny O'Hartwell is one of us.
It's gas the way we always give out about. This week it was like everyone giving out about the Oscars and the UK media kind of claiming them as British, but the Irish guy, especially in mixed martial arts, any sniff of Irishness at all, and we're like, yeah, he's Irish, he's one of ours. But when the shoe's on the other foot, have you ever
been to Ireland? Grant, you're one of us.
yeah. But look, obviously you're talking about Danny. Tell us a little bit about Danny, maybe starting off, Caoilte, some of the background and how he found himself onto Team Ireland.
So I think he was looking to, from what I understand, he was looking to get to the IMMAFs. I think it might be a case there probably wasn't a spot for him in the Australia team. I'm not too sure on that, to be honest with you though. And yeah, he reached out and he qualified through the granny rule, and so he wasn't taking up anyone else's space, so there was no other heavyweight entry from Ireland going over. So it actually worked out pretty well. Just got another entry. So yeah, we claim another one and hopefully can do well. He actually has a win over. I think he's 2-0, 3-0. I think he is, and he's got a win over one of the other heavyweights. I think he's for Australia, New Zealand. That's actually going over as well. So that's a good look as well if you're beating someone who was on one of the other teams as well. So yeah, not sure about style or anything like that, but if they're heavyweights, sure, look, it'll be a bit of fun anyway.
Oh, it was a bit of crack. Andy, when you're looking at that team going over there, a small team this year, but still a very good one, and we expect a couple of people to make a good run in the tournament. Who are you particularly looking at on Team Ireland right now that could cause waves over at the Worlds in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think there's probably a number that could actually stand out at the tournament. I think the one that stands out right off the page to me is Mohamed Aftaranov. Just consider what we saw of him at the Four Nations, the way the likes of Will Fleury and others speak about him, and he's just a huge guy who looks incredibly technically skilled. Be interested to see. I know he's very proficient on the mat. Be interested to see how he develops in the striking department and how he looks there. But yeah, he's someone that I'd be really excited to see, and I imagine, you know, you don't really see too many light heavyweights or big lads coming out of Ireland, so it's always good to see. But there's a lot of other ones like Ronan Deegan, who you guys will hear from later on. Like I've been very impressed with him on the regional scene. Megan Hamill, I was very impressed with. I think was it her last fight or one of her last fights was against, did she fight Sarah Carney?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. So like, you know, that's a big win over someone like Sarah, and then obviously Jake Nye. Has lit up the highlight reels as of late with his Tariqa Plata and stuff like that. So, and then there's a lot of returning IMMAF competitors or IMMAF/IMMAF competitors that we know will deliver, like Kieran Davern and a few others. So yeah, I'm actually quite excited in general about this. I'm looking forward to following along again this year.
Yeah, so I'm excited too as well. And Caoilte, just maybe get your opinion. Like, obviously, we've seen bigger teams travel over to the Worlds and to the Euros and stuff like that. Do you think it's going to be a help or a hindrance that the team is a little bit tight-knit this time around? Obviously, this is completely going to be new to a lot of the athletes heading over there, obviously under Kieran Davern and with Alex and Paul helping him out as well. What can you kind of foresee? And how are some of the brackets looking for some of these fighters? I'm like some of the divisions are pretty shit hot, to be honest, and others, you know, it's the look of the draw really in the Worlds, isn't it?
Yeah, like as I said, it's the biggest. I think it's touted to be the biggest competition yet for the Worlds. Some of the brackets are absolutely like filled with talent. I've been doing kind of research on some of them, doing articles on a few. Like welterweight is just it's a scary one. That's incredible. But in terms of looking at the Irish team and some of the divisions, like it is luck of the draw. In some cases, like you could end up with, you could be the unlucky sod who ends up with Ramzan Gitnov in your in your first round pick, and it's like, oh well, that's gonna be, you're already have an uphill challenge then. But like I don't think it'll be much of a hindrance having a small team or anything, or even don't think it would be a benefit, because it's, you know, just about being a squad at the end of the day. And like they've been over before, like Kieran Davern and Alexander O'Sullivan are two that have been over quite a few of these competitions. Alexander both as an athlete and a coach, the most recent one being the European Championships. So I think there's a lot of them will have an understanding of kind of what to expect, and they've probably been around each other quite a bit between gyms. You see a lot of them cross training now. I've seen a few in CMAC cross training, and yeah, I don't think that'll play into it much at all, to be honest. I think it'll be a fairly good squad. They were really close the last time, so I'd anticipate that to be very much the same thing. And having the squad sessions as well is going to help massively, like the one they had recently. I think we'll discuss that with Ronan Deegan later on. But yeah, it's good now.
Am I right in saying that Jordan Bradshaw's moving up a weight class for this? So he's going in at lightweight, isn't he? He's usually kind of featherweight. I know I think he's competed at bantamweight as well, but usually a featherweight. Yeah,
he can compete at all of them. So I think he was a featherweight. I think he was a featherweight at the European. Sorry, but there's such a demand for brackets that it's very hard to get two picks in. So sometimes you're just forced to go up. Like look at Ronan Deegan for the case of the Europeans. He went up to lightweight and he can fight as low as bantam, and he still medalled as well. So the same time, it may
It's great.
not
It's
make
great
much
to have
difference.
both, as you know, both Ronan and Jordan, because Jordan won the Four Nations. He's probably one of the ones I should have highlighted earlier on. He won the Four Nations as well, didn't he? As well as Mohammed.
Yeah, he was unlucky at the Europeans as well. Like he lost, I think it was like a split to Daniel Shamkhalov, I think his name is, a Swedish guy, and it was a great fight. But he was very unlucky not to actually find himself in a medal position, to be honest, with the Euros. So yeah, he's so active as well. You just don't know what to expect. He could really light up the tournament as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we have Megan Hamill, as you mentioned, and Eva Cruz as well will be competing in the senior flyweight tournament as well. So look, we could highlight everybody on the team. Obviously, it's a fantastic achievement for anyone to get represent their country, and I'm very excited to see how Team Ireland get on over there. It's kind of like a new era, with the changeover of the head coaches and everything like that. So very exciting times, and obviously we'll have the nationals coming up a little bit later on in next month, or in March, excuse me. But yeah, before we
pretty cool that they're bringing a personal DJ over in Paul Redmond as well.
yeah. The most dangerous DJ that ever existed, Paul Redmond, for sure. It'd be interesting to see. Look, speaking of Team Rhino and everything like that, Nadine Ababissad actually got nominated for the IMMAF Amateur of the Year, which is a fantastic achievement in its own right as well. So absolute credit to her. It's definitely worth the mention. I've seen that she is nominated, Caoilte. Is there any kind of information on is there kind of more nominations, or how did the nomination process work for the IMMAFs?
Wasn't really involved to do with the nominations, but I think the voting's going to take place between people on the I think on the board, and the athletes commission will vote for the winner through that then. So I think, and then it all to be revealed at the award ceremony that's going to happen in Serbia. So we'll see what happens with that then.
Nice.
Some good in there with some really good names in those nominees. So yeah, fair play.
Yeah, no, it would be great to see. It would be great to see her get that award for sure. After a fantastic amateur year last year. Ronan Deegan obviously is going to be heading over there to compete in the senior featherweight bracket. We will have him on for a chat right now, just to kind of discuss his preparations before heading over there, where his mindset is at, and a couple of other things as well. So I'm going to send it on over to Caoilte there, who will kick that interview off, and we'll be back in a little bit.
And now we're joined by Ronan Deegan, who's heading to Serbia with the Irish team ahead of the IMMAF World Championships. Ronan, how are you getting on?
Grant, thanks again for having me on, lads. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Look, there's so much to talk about ahead of the Worlds. Like, you have a great team going over. I know you're going down division, but I guess the best way to start is you had that squad session recently, which is great to see. What was that like? What were you doing in it, and how good was it to get it done as well before the Worlds?
Oh, it was great. So it was. I think we have one more session planned for it, but it was like a kind of a big seminar. So it was. So like Alexander took the first 45 minutes, then Paul Redmond took over with some out in the open wrestling, and then some fence work, and then we finished off with Kieran, and then afterwards Liam McGriffin just ran us through the MMA scoring and what to expect, and like, which is very important, because I think a lot of Irish amateur fighters or even coaches don't know, they like are working off the old rule set, and it's important to work off the new rule set, especially when you go to a tournament like IMMAFs.
Do you think that helps, like, massively, just understanding when you go into a fight, if you go into a corner and they're telling you something and are trying to make adjustments, and you know how the scoring works, you know how the judges might see this, does that make a massive impact on you and just your career in general, to have that understanding and confidence that you know how things are being scored?
Definitely, yeah. Like, so just it's really important that, like, I mean, the thing that rules most overall, like, it wouldn't be control or aggression, it's actually just damage and how close you came to stopping a fight. So if, like, you could, like, dominate someone or could control someone on their back, or keep them on their back for the majority of the round, but if they landed the most damaging shots, or they came the closest to finishing the fight, let's just say if it's someone off their back with like a triangle that was very dangerous in the last 20 seconds, that might be enough in some judges' eyes to, like, give them the round. So it's important to know if you're up in the scorecards or if you're down. You hear a lot of time people complaining because they thought they won or they thought they edged the fight out. So it's very important to know. Otherwise, you don't know what game you're playing.
It's refreshing to hear. Like, I think Sean Sheen's been banging the drum about MMA scoring for the past 2 years. So, like, it's nice to hear fighters, like, actually learn about this and understand how it works as well. And it's going to make a massive difference. But look, we get into, I guess,
it's a marginal gain. Like, it's for the whole team. Like, I know Kieran was on about it, but like, I think the whole culture of the team is, like, we want to be the best Irish team that there's been so far, and we want to bring home the most medals. And like to make small improvements like that, like, and educate the fighters and the coaches, like that's like a small game or a small thing, but it can like make a massive difference with the whole culture of the team. So if we're all about improvement and creating the best culture available or around, then I think these changes are really good today.
Ronan, do you think like the structure of the rounds and the amateur setup, does that, in your opinion, obviously we're dealing with 3 rounds or 3-minute rounds for the amateur fights. Do you think that helps or hinders your style? And would you like to see maybe the introduction of maybe a 5-minute round into the amateur scene at some stage? Maybe it would be 1 5-minute round or 2 5-minute rounds.
I don't really mind the amateur rule set as it is. I think it's a good it's a good view for like what's to come when you turn pro. Like it's a good like format of how it is. But I do think the 3 5 minutes, they require like a different way of approaching the fight. So if you watch a lot of pro fights, sometimes they're not as fast paced as some amateur fights are. Like 3 threes, or if you ever watch pro kickboxing, I think that's like 2 threes. They're nearly like sprints. Where like if you watch like amateur or pro MMA fights, which are 5-minute long rounds, the lads kind of track themselves a little bit better, and they have to watch like how much energy they expend in each round, especially if it's going to go the full 3. So it's just more so about energy efficiency and how you like manage it better.
Ron, obviously, I think the like you're going to Serbia now. This is your second trip with the Irish team. What was it like going to Italy the last time? I know, like between the mosquitoes and everything that was going on over there. Like, but what was it like going over for the first time, and especially having Kieran and everyone with you and your teammates Andrew and Jordan as well?
It was rough for an Irish lad going to handle mosquitoes. I know. No, it was great. It was like it was lads were slagging me. It was actually my first time leaving the country, so they were taking the mick out of me. But like
No way.
never been out of Tullamore. No, only messing. But like it was great. So it was like I was saying to you that like just that format like really gave me a huge boost in confidence in my skills, because winning fights in that and like beating some of the best countries or some of the countries' best opposition they had just really gave me a boost in my confidence. Like I actually believe now that like I'm one of the best amateur fighters in the world, and like when you go out there and you like back it up, like I was saying, like people can manifest their own confidence, but I think the best form of confidence is results. So when you're producing results like that and you're beating that's the way I was, that's the best form of confidence, because I know I have it to rely on. And this time when I come into the competition, it won't be my first time, and I know how it's run, so I'll have a greater level of confidence and I'll just have a greater sense of belief.
Yeah, speaking about confidence, like, you know, you were in there not at your natural weight division. You're up at lightweight competing against absolute monsters. Like some of those guys were huge and you were putting it right up to them. You were winning. And then you met George Staines, who's an incredible size of a man as well. And yeah, almost subbed him and everything. It was a great fight. You went the distance with him. Unfortunately, didn't get the result. But like, how much confidence does that give you competing against these big lads, knowing that you can compete at bantamweight?
Well, like to be honest, I was saying already that like I think the best thing about like people like to try and like manifest confidence or try and create it in their mind, but like the best thing for creating confidence, in my opinion, is results. And like for me to go out there and perform as I did against like such high level opposition, and like not just like perform all right or like maybe have a good like performance. Like I was winning and I was like beating them and I was submitting some of them. And like that's the most that really like creates high level confidence for me. And like I honestly do believe I'm one of the best amateurs in the world. And like when I go out there this time at my own way, like I really can't. Like I actually think I can bring home gold, and that's not like trying to build myself up. Like I think I have what it takes, and I really can't wait for it. Like I honestly can't wait for Serbia. I think this is going to be my moment. Like
You're saying that Italy was the first time out of the country. Now you're going to
yeah,
mad place altogether. Like
yeah, it was. I was getting a bit of grief. I'm a bugger from Tullamore, so I am. So I haven't seen Dublin. No, I'm only West.
You'll only leave the country if you're promised to fight. That's what we're hearing here.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, no.
Was that the first time you were on a plane then?
Yeah. That was the first time for nearly everything. Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Oh, it was alright. Actually, I didn't mind that, to be honest. I got a few tips from like Kieran and his wife travels a good bit, so like, they gave me a few tips and stuff like that for traveling. But Kieran was steering me the whole time though in the airport. Like It was pure just, listen, it was a show, but we won't talk about that.
But look, you're going to be going over this with the team. It's going to be a massive competition. Obviously, the Brave event is on at the end as well, so it's quite the spectacle, really. And I know a very good chance of getting gold, and you come up against some of the best in the world. But look, just to kind of track back in last year a bit, like you had such an active year for a lad who I think you were a year into competing in MMA or something. It's crazy. Like that activity, how important was that activity for you in terms of just developing as well and getting comfortable inside the cage?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I only started fighting in October 2021. So by the time I was going to the IMMAFs, I was fighting less than a year. I think it was about a little over 9 months or so. And then, or no, actually, sorry, it was just about to be a year or so. Sorry, because it was just finished on October 1st. But no, like I mean, like you said, like I had a really really active year. And after, like, my record is 10-2 now. And like I feel like with fights, like you could spend months on end training in the gym, but when you come to competition, I think that's when you learn the most about yourself. And like I feel like I'm like a bit of a, like, not, I won't say a veteran, but like the amount of experience I've racked up, it feels like I've been training longer than I have. And like I've been training for about 6 years now, or 5 or 6 years. But like them fights just really, like, they bring up your like experience and your knowledge, I suppose, and like of what you're capable of. And then like there's like lad in our gym, black belt, Kieran Davern. I think he's got a saying that really sums it up. It's like the best way to get good at competing is by competing. It's that simple. So like the more competitions you do, so like I compete in everything. So I've done wrestling competitions, I do jiu-jitsu competitions as much as I can. I do anything, to be honest. I just love competing, and I think it's like it'll all stand to me when I turn pro.
Where did that love for combat sports come from, Ronan? Ronan, excuse me. When did you kind of realize that you wanted to be a fighter for the rest of your life?
So I'm not like most lads. Like I always, fighting was obviously like held to a high regard in my family. Like I had a brother who was like used to be a boxer, and I think he like won Leinster's one time or something. But he got on okay at boxing. But I didn't really start training. I played a few different sports growing up, but I started training martial arts when I was about 17. I had a friend who got me into it, and he no longer trains, but I stuck with it since then, really. And to be honest, it was after my second kickboxing fight. I had a kickboxing fight, and I TKO'd a lad in in 2 rounds or something. And after that, I just like got out of it, and like the feeling afterwards, I was like, I need to do it. Like I obviously played around with the idea before that, but to be honest, I thought it was too out of the realm of possibility. I was like, come on, like, not yourself. But then after that fight, I was like, no, I need to do this for me. Like I need to make this happen, because like this is what I have to do. Because just the buzz after it, and there's nothing like fighting. And like martial arts is the only thing that like uh, that really consumes my attention. I could spend all day thinking about it and like not be fed up with it. I could just like spend all my time thinking about it. So like that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
You're training now in, like you said, you're there training for 6 years now, and like you're training with SBG Tullamore, and like the vibe in that gym seems like the work ethic is just incredible. All you guys seem like a little family almost, from what I've seen. Like we spoke to Kieran last week, and he's great things to say. It was great to speak with him. But I'd love to hear your like kind of your side of what it's like being in the gym, having him as a coach, and kind of the vibe around the gym, because you've got some characters in there, like, and you're all training like crazy. It's mental.
Yeah. So like I wouldn't say our gym doesn't produce like high quantity numbers. I think it produces quality, to be honest. And like I'd say like everybody in there has a key role. And like if they don't fit the culture, like I think Kieran said this already, but there's like a small thing called FIFO. So like it stands for like it's either fit in or fuck off. It's that simple. And it's like if you don't fit the culture, I know, yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, but like he got it from like a podcast before, but it's great. Like, you know what I mean? It's like high performers, and like I think that's what all of our gym is like. And right down from like Jamie, his wife, who like runs the kind of administration. She's kind of like the real boss. Like we're all about like high performance, and like, you know, everybody in there. There's no kind of slacking off. Like you said, they're all hard workers. Anybody who steps out of our gym to compete, like, you know, they're ready. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as rushing. You really have to prove yourself in our gym, I think, to be honest. And I see, like, I'm not going to name other gyms, but you see in other gyms, like, there's a lot of lads that are like fighting that I don't think should be like fighting yet. I think they need another few months to years of like training solid and like, you know, competing in smaller competitions before they should be on amateur shows. Like, Kieran's very strict with who he lets out to compete, and I think that trickles down throughout the culture of the gym. Like the whole gym is filled with like high performers and hard workers.
And like, well, the performers really, it shows in the cage. I think one thing we've all noticed, the three of us, is Kieran Davern being in the corner it's quite something to behold. Like it's he's just so attention to detail is incredible. He's really good to listen to. What's it like from your perspective having him in the corner?
Well, I love hearing him in the corner because like he just gets it, you know what I mean? And like we've got a really, really good bond. And like you were saying about the fights, I fought that much now over the past year that we have such a good like kind of synchronization between us. Like he understands when to talk to me, when to give me my space. You know what I mean? It's just, I think we have that really down. But when he's cornering, it's so much easier. It's like sometimes in fights, I find anyways that like sometimes small things like you nearly forget which move to go to next. So you just need someone like Kieran, and he'd shout a move, and like I don't even have to think. I just have to react to what he's saying. And there's been points in fights where he's literally said a command or a call of like, we'll just say a certain name for a move, and hit it immediately. And like that hasn't happened once; it happened the whole time. It nearly happens in every fight, to be honest. So I think, like you said, it's kind of funny. When I'm fighting up the north, I fight up the north a lot. So like, there's not too many people cheering for me. So all you hear is Kieran's voice in the corner, and he's like, you can hear it in the audio sometimes in the fights, and he's just calling instructions, and I'm just reacting to it. And like, I really like that. You know what I mean? I like some lads have made the comparison like that's it, like a remote controller. Like if you've ever seen the meme of Khabib with a remote controller in his hand and Islam reacting. It's like someone from the gym photoshopped my face on Islam and Kieran's face and Khabib, and it was really funny. So it is.
I think Charlie Ward was in your corner the last fight as well, I believe, up at our fighting championships. What's it like having Charlie as someone as experienced as him, obviously fighting at a top level as well? What's it like having him in your corner and obviously hanging around the gym in SBG Tullamore as well?
Like he's great, so you know what I mean. Like I love having Charlie there because I get to pick his brain about stuff, and like he's been around so many years. Like Kieran was saying it, but he's a mad bastard, so he is. But he's a legend, you know what I mean? And he'll admit to that himself. But like having him there in your corner, like it's just, you know what I mean. Like he's another person that like he knows when to talk, when to leave you alone. You know what I mean? And it's just like he won't like burn the ear off you. He'll sum it up in a few words, and like he won't sugarcoat it either. You know what I mean? He's fairly blunt to the point, if you know what I mean. But
I'd say if there was any tough loving to be given out in the gym, that would be Charlie Ward that would be giving it out, would it?
Oh, please. I tell you, you don't want to start slagging Charlie Ward, or you'll be a few feet under. No, yeah, but he is great, and like just like small things like obviously I'm not pro yet, so like I remember asking him a question like something small, like, do you know when you're cornering? I asked him, do you know when you're being cornered? Can you hear your corner when you're like in the tree arena? And yeah, like, because I never obviously know what that feels like. I never know, like, I wouldn't have someone to ask that question to without if Charlie wasn't there. And he's like, yeah, the only people you hear are the only thing you can hear is the voices you know. So like Kieran's voice he would know. So like that was great having him there, like asking him small questions like that. They're just like regular questions I would be asking about, like, you know, related to like when I do fight like pro, and like when I do fight in huge arenas like one day, what's it like? And he can like prep me for stuff like that.
Is that something that you think about, Ronan? Like you're visualizing already fighting in big arenas. Obviously, like you're so young in your career. Do you think about those things now?
Yeah, 100%. Like you know what I mean? Like fighters say it the whole time, but like you visualize a lot, so you do. Well, I do anyways. And like when you're listening to music or just something that might spark you, or you might like do something in the gym that reminds you of like fighting. And I'd be thinking of like a great example is like I was doing rounds there the other day, and Kieran was like we were in the middle of like our Thursday rounds, and like it's fence work or something, and it can be like quite intense, like quite like fairly, won't say hard rounds, but like high intensity, and like they're just really, really push you like cardio wise. And just like Kieran was calling out to Charlie, like saying like, this is the tree arena, you have to push 10,000 people. And I was just visualizing in my mind as like, this is 10,000 people for me, let's go. Like and like just I am thinking about that. I've been thinking about that since the day I started fighting, but now more than ever, because as I like progress through my amateur career, I'm getting closer and closer to turning pro. So it is more and more a real possibility.
Have you always been this way, when it comes to fighting? Like when you were younger, could you have seen yourself like an amateur fighter and now thinking about fighting in arenas?
That's something that no, so that was weird because there was a yoke that came up there recently that I was the number one bantamweight in England and Ireland on Tapology, and it's just a lot of people were just saying to me, especially when I go on nights out, because I don't really go out that much anymore, only really after fights to celebrate. And I see a lot of lads from school and that, and they can't really believe it because just I was always a pure farmer and just you know what I mean. I would have been a typical lad, you know what I mean. But I think I'm after changing so much as in just my mindset and I suppose who I am as a person. You can't help but grow, you know what I mean. But you still of course that's regular for someone who's young, but I feel like I've had a kind of a huge kind of change just in my mindset and how I view things, to be honest, because this wasn't really how it was meant to go. I was meant to get a 9 to 5 job and settle down with a girl and get a house and get a mortgage. That was it. But no, this definitely I didn't see it coming. But it's definitely what I've chosen that I want to do, and I've definitely committed wholeheartedly to it.
How far do you think you can go yourself, Ronan?
UFC gold, the UFC champion, a bantamweight champion of the world, and that's just something me and Kieran have in mind. But I definitely see it. I don't think a lot of people speak, and I see it a lot. So it's kind of something that competitors can see, but I can see when someone's just talking talking shite or talking just bigging themselves up. I can tell, I can see through it, to be honest. And whether someone could try and sit there and talk is cheap. But I actually do believe I think the way I'm going, if I keep this ball rolling, it'll be belts in a major organization, or a feeder organization first in pro, maybe Cage Warriors, UAE, PFC or PFL. We'll see, and then it'll be UFC gold.
Ronan, you talked there about knowing when other people kind of maybe don't believe it. I'm not going to ask you about who you think doesn't believe it, but is there when you look at Irish MMA, is there anyone that you see in the country when you hear them speak that you do believe them?
I do believe them. As in, I do believe that.
When you think they're being authentic when in their ambition and their belief in themselves.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely not going to name who I think. I don't want to start calling out people here.
No, I don't want you to say who you think is the. I want just the lads who you think.
There are some. I definitely do think there are some. I think there's people who have there's a few different things you need. I think, in my opinion, you need the mindset, you need the skill set, you need the right culture around you, and you need the right team around you. And I think and then there's one or two other things as well. And I think people so let's call it a few pillars. We'll call them pillars. You need a certain amount of pillars. I think people fall short on one or two pillars, and that might be what prohibits them from going far. But I definitely think Keith Keogh has, if I'm being fully honest, Keith Keogh, Jordan Bradshaw, Alexander O'Sullivan, I think they've got a very similar culture to what SBG Tullamore has. Is there anybody else? I'm not really too sure about anybody else that I've met so far, but I definitely think they have it, and I think the way they're going, and I like the way they approach it, because they're very they don't try and pad the records, and I think any success they have, it's earned. You know what I mean? So they're lads that we get along with. We've done a bit of cross training, and then obviously I fought Jordan and Keith, but to be honest, that's another thing about the IMMAFs. It really opened my eyes to there's so much competition out there. There's no need to be making enemies 20 minutes, 30 minutes down the road. Try and turn the lads that are on this small island. You know what I mean? I think a lot of lads who fight regional shows, they'd be eyeing you up and they'd be like, lad, do you not realise this isn't the level. It's UFC is the level, and I'm not going to be fighting lads who are from Ireland in the UFC. So if I fight you once, that doesn't mean I have bad intentions for you, for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Once the fight's done, it's just competition. You don't have to take it so to heart. So that's what I've learned from the IMMAFs. It's the pool of competitors is so big. So try and have a few lads that you actually have as solid training partners.
You've another fight booked out after the IMMAFs as well. Is it at or?
Yeah, IUR. I'm not actually 100% sure if that's when that is. So I wasn't confirmed for the Worlds when that match was getting sorted. So I think that might actually be pushed back to. I think Decky's pushing that back to the next IUR, which is in July or June. But I can't wait to defend the belt as well. So that'll be good.
Is it a case that this year you're trying to beat the amount of fights that you had last year?
100%. Yeah, definitely. I wanted 10 fights for the year at least last year, but it kind of fell short a little bit. I think I had 8 in total. I definitely think with the IMMAFs this year, because this isn't the only IMMAFs I'm intending on going to, I definitely think, honestly, I'm aiming for 15 this year. And I'm not I think if this goes well, 5 fights this time, another few fights and regional shows, waiting for the IMMAFs to come back around, and another IMMAFs or 2. And also, I think I'll definitely be doing the nationals and the regionals that the IMMAF is planning for Ireland this year.
Just you've what 12 fights already. You're talking about another 15 this year. You've spoken about wanting to be the UFC champion. That obviously means going pro at some point. How soon is too soon to go pro? Like, is that a decision that you will make, or that Kieran will make? That you'll obviously have a lot of experience if you get 15 fights in, and obviously to consider the damage that you may take in fights too.
So that is a good question. So I think it's more so a mutual thing. It'll be like me and Kieran are playing. So what we've set it on is a minimum of 25 to 30 fights is what I want from amateur before I go pro. And I do agree with you about damage, but if you've seen me after my fights, I don't fight the way most lads fight. I'm not here to have wars. I'm not trying to be stupid. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, people only care about the results, whether it was a W or a loss. So I'm coming, when I fight, I don't want to come out with black eyes. I know how tough I am. You know what I mean? You got to see it when I fought George Staines and when I fought the other lads. When I fought the Czech Republican lad, I had one of the hardest fights I've ever had, to be honest. And it was a 3-round war. It was it really pushed each other hard. But that being said, most times I do such a good job grappling the lads and applying enough pressure where they don't get to land any heavy shots. So I plan to keep it that way. And I don't want to waste my best years in a gym, or more importantly, fighting amateur. I don't think I take as much damage as most lads. So I think, to what you said, Andy, I think I can actually keep an amateur career going longer and still not sustain too much damage.
Ron, look, I think that's everything we kind of have for you. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and I'm buzzing to see you I'll see you in Serbia, so I look forward to watching you live once again.
I've got one question before you go as well, actually.
You always have one question.
Sorry, I've got one question. You referred to yourself as a farmer a few times. Have you ever worked on the farm?
Oh yeah. Well, part-time farmer. My father would have been coming from a farmer background, and we would have been raised like that. So, yeah. Just call me a blogger. We'll call me a blogger.
Plenty of strength and conditioning there, drawing silage.
Definitely to the bog.
Love it. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you competing at the Worlds, Ronan, and hopefully we'll get the chance to talk to you sometime down the line as well. So all the best to you, my man, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for spending the time.
Perfect. Thanks again. Sound for having me on, lads. I appreciate it. And you're all legends. Thanks again. Appreciate what you do for the Irish MMA scene.
Nice one. Okay, guys, there's been a bunch of fights announced since our last podcast. I mean, it's popping off, as they say, in Irish MMA right now. And a couple of good announcements coming over on SevereMMA.com. You can catch all of the updates over there. Some big ones, I guess. Obviously, we spoke to James Gallagher in our bonus Auld Triangle episode. If you've missed that, you can catch that over on our YouTube and all podcast platforms. It was a great interview. Great to catch up with James. He's coming back after a long layoff. And he has a good opponent there as well, Andy, as well, in Leandro Higo, a guy who has been called out, obviously, by Brian Moore in the past. But it's a good fight. James is confident heading in there. He seems like he's in a good mindset as well. It was brilliant to be able to catch up with him earlier last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, he does. He seems very, very confident. Obviously, it's probably a trialing time at the moment with so much flux in the gym and new head, well, not new head coach, the coaches he's already been working with, but head coaches in his corner. And yeah, I think it's a great fight for him. It is kind of funny that like poor old Brian Moore's been calling for it for God knows how long, and then James gets the fight. But still, a brilliant fight between two ranked bantamweights. And look, James obviously is coming off the loss to Patchy Mix, but I thought he looked the best he's ever looked up until the submission in that fight. I thought his striking looked great. I thought he was putting it on Patchy Mix in the first round. I think this is a really competitive matchup for both of them. It's just a real pity it's not in Ireland, but look, I'm not going to cry too much about it because we've got some good fights, but it's just a bit odd that it's not in Dublin. Also odd that they never made the Brett Johns fight, but to be honest, I think I'm more excited for the style matchup for this Higo fight than I would have been for the Johns fight, despite the bit of bite back and forth between the two lads. But yeah, really looking forward to seeing James back. He's obviously been off for a long time. He seems to be chomping at the bit to get back in there and to prove himself, or not to. He's one of these guys that he feels like he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone, but just to show that he does belong in the top of the world in the Bellator bantamweight division. So a big fight for him, obviously coming off the last loss. So we'll see how he gets on. I look forward to seeing him back.
Yeah. Do you think, Caoilte, that Bellator have kind of missed a step here, not having James on the Dublin card? And we'll talk about Leah McCourt as well, who's also been announced to fight Kat Zingano as well in California. Maybe that might bring us on to that fight as well. But, I think Bellator have missed a step. It's a shame. Look, it's great to see James and Leah going out there and competing again, but it seems crazy to me why these fights aren't on the Dublin card. And, what are your feelings about it?
Yeah, I think Irish fans have been chomping at the bit to see James back on an Irish card consistently. Like the way we see Peter Queally, for example, who's on pretty much every Dublin card outside of barring the ones where he wasn't able to compete with injury. And people want that with James too. And it's not exactly, I think some people weren't exactly pleased with how the card was looking as well. So the addition of someone like James and Leah and those fights in particular would have been they would have raised the profile of that card massively. And it's something that I think people would have loved. And yeah, they really missed a step there, but there's always a chance to make up for it, where they could come back in, let's say, September, and they could really stack it up and, make up for whatever's after happening with this one of not having the fan favorites, or some of the fan favorites, on the card.
Yeah, 100%. And look, while we're on the topic, obviously James will take on Leandro Higo at Bellator 292 in San Jose. And while we're on this topic, Andy, obviously Leah McCourt will fight a little bit later on in March as well against Kat Zingano at Bellator 293. We can talk about that fight being on the Dublin card too, but look, apart from everything else, that's a fantastic fight, as is James's. But Leah's, this is a fantastic opportunity for Leah here against Kat Zingano, former UFC title challenger, and a really, really good test as well.
Oh, 100%. It's a cracker. It's the, probably, it's hard to say, it's hard to compare it to the Sinead fight, but it's one of, if not the toughest test of her career. To fight someone like Kat Zingano, a household name in women's MMA, as you said, someone who's challenged for the title and who's been around the block for years and years and years. This is someone who, when they were signed, the anticipation was that she'd probably immediately be going in and facing Cyborg. I think this would be a huge fight for Leah's career, because we've talked so often about the depth or lack of depth, or the gulf in class, I suppose, not class, but the gulf in experience levels between the top and the bottom of the women's featherweight division in Bellator. And there is no next step. It's just kind of a big jump in between. And this is a jump for Leah. So I thought she looked better.
Sinead Kavanagh is a pretty good test as well. I think it's
from Diana, like the likes of a Diana Silva.
For sure. Big time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I fully agree about the Sinead. Like Sinead is up there at the top. She's already fought for that title. But this is, it's fights like these that you have to win to prove yourself as I'm up there. But then again, I think Leah's on. I don't think she's in it to for the quick kind of rise. I think it's just she's going to keep going, and she wants to develop her skill set and all that stuff, and eventually get to a title. So this is her next opportunity to do that. I think it's a huge fight for her. Yeah,
I would describe it as the right step at the right time for Leah as well. I'm sure you'll feel the same, Caoilte, hey?
Yeah, and looking at Kat Zingano's record there, she's on a 3-fight win streak in Bellator, and as we were saying, you guys were saying there that you probably would have expected her to be fighting for a title next. Honestly, I'd be surprised if the winner of this doesn't fight for a title. It seems as though it is like a number one contender type of fight, and it's fantastic. You know, it's a great test for Leah, and a massive opportunity to get like a win over a household name on your record as well. Like it's incredible.
Big time. I'm looking forward. We'll obviously break that fight down a little bit further as well.
Just on the Caoilte's point there, though. So I did see Chris Cyborg on her YouTube channel does a thing with James Lynch, and she specifically was talking about Leah McCourt and that she expected to face Kat and then Leah in Ireland. So I mean, that'd be amazing to fight Leah in Ireland, and it's going to be a bit weird though when you're Sinead, who's just beaten Leah, and obviously she's been out injured and Leah's got a win since then. But to then be coming back against Janae Hard, there's a lot of moving pieces in that division.
There surely is, and that's that. I was going to actually, you brought up the point I was going to finally make as well about Chris Cyborg. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. And the silver lining, I guess, would be on James's and Leah's fights being abroad is the possibility of setting up an even bigger fight in Ireland later on this year if Bellator are to come back in September as well. But we shall move on. Another big fight and a world title fight as well is obviously Danny McCormick is going to be taking on Valeska Machado at Invicta 52 on March 15th as well. That's a huge fight, a huge opportunity for Danny to come in there, be the first Irish woman to win an Invicta title as well, having performed very well at Invicta 50 earlier on in the year. Look, we'll get more in detail, but it's a great opportunity for Danny Andy to come in there and stake her claim at the title. And obviously, you create a clearer path to the UFC too, obviously, with that Invicta title around her waist if she can get it done.
Absolutely. It's a biggest fight of her career. Invicta has been the promotion in women's MMA that launches you to the UFC. To win a title there is very significant. As you mentioned, she become the first Irish woman to ever do that. I think the first woman was Aisling Daly back in 2012. Then there was Catherine Koskinen, I think, in 2015. And now we've obviously seen both Danny and Sean O'Bannon in that division. But for Danny to have this opportunity and for her to go and win a title, I mean, you'd have to be talking about UFC next, or at least the possibility of it, because we've seen so many women come through that organization to go on to Invicta to win or to go on to the UFC to win titles in the UFC. Amanda Nunes came through Invicta or fought in Invicta. There's so many others as well. So it's just, it could be a life changer, this fight for Danny McCormick.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like, and she gave a great interview over with myself over on SevereMMA. If anyone hasn't checked that out, I'd recommend it. Danny is always a great interview, always wears her heart on her sleeve. And I'm sure you're excited to see her go in there and compete again against Valeska Machado as well, Caoilte.
Yeah, buzzing. Like, after that last performance, like, it was incredible. And there was the argument was there. It was for her to be next in line for title shot after that performance and that win. It was incredible. It also highlights like how much women's MMA in Ireland is just booming at the moment. Like, we've so many stars emerging, and like that could be potential title contenders or title contender in this case. Like we just spoke about Leah, Sinead, obviously Sean O'Bannon's coming through. Now you've Danny competing for an Invicta title. It's incredible to see. Like, and as Andy said, it's a life changer. This could launch her to the UFC, and that opens up so many opportunities financially and I guess exposure and publicity wise as well to kind of build a profile. It's amazing. And I can't wait for it. I think did I see that the fight lands on her birthday?
Yeah. She said
that's pretty cool.
It's crazy cool.
Amazing.
Like, it's crazy how things work out sometimes. Obviously Danny had the disappointment of those 2 losses, and she spoke quite well about like dealing with it, where there was thoughts of her just packing it in for a little bit after the fight as well. Obviously she got some great support, and to find yourself in a position where she went out there and put on probably the performance of her career in her last fight when she took on Maria Mazar. And I think, rightfully gets the title shot and has the chance to win it on her birthday. It's crazy how things work out sometimes, but very exciting.
It'll be some present.
It'll be unbelievable. Obviously, news broke last week of Ger Harris's return to the cage as well for Cage Fight Series 13, which takes place on March 10th in just a couple of weeks as well. And Caoilte, I'm very, very excited to see Ger back in action again against Florence Stan, a guy who's moving down from the bantamweight division to flyweight as well. But it's always exciting to see Ger Harris, the GTA selector, back in action.
Ah, man, one of the best commentators in Irish MMA right there. And it's good to see him back in the cage as well. He's exciting outside the cage as he is inside. So I can't wait to see him. He's fantastic. Always exciting, always puts on a good show, and look, he's there's so much, I guess, potential there, and he could really rise this year and have a, could be a huge year for him. We could see him it's crazy to think you could actually see him in the UFC in the next 2 years, maybe, at the route he's going, if he can actually get fights and stay active. So yeah, it's amazing.
Lovely. Also on March 17th, on St. Patrick's Day, Andy Omran Shaban. Well, maybe I kind of skipped over your thoughts and opinions on Ger Harris. Maybe, do you have any thoughts and opinions on Ger's comeback?
No, yeah, just looking forward to seeing him back. I don't really have too much to say. I don't know too much about the opponent or anything like that. But yeah, like at this point, I think it's more about Ger.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to seeing him back, and I think that matchmaking is probably the difficult part, especially at flyweight. I know across the board, not just Ger, it's tough to get flyweight matchups out there because there's just not that many fighters.
Yeah, that's the thing. Look, Florence Stan has a 2-4 record, so I mean, it's not a record that really sticks out, but has experiences a lot of fights in there. And fought at Levels Fight League in his last fight at bantamweight. He's making the move down to flyweight. But I mean, if you're Ger Harris, lads, and you go in there and you perform like you performed in the last fight you did, where you absolutely brutalized that guy, I mean, there's not going to be too many people lining up to fight someone like Ger, and he gets me so excited to watch him fight because he has that power and that devastating power at flyweight too, which we seen in the first exchange in his last fight, dropping his opponent, and I'm excited to see him in there, and a win here could set up a title fight for him even on Cage Fight Series, and an opportunity to showcase his abilities again on UFC Fight Pass. So really looking forward to that. Another one that I'm really looking forward to, and we'll talk about this one before we move over to Cage Warriors Dublin, where a couple of fights have been broken as well. Kiefer Crosby versus Cowboy Oliveira at Real FC over in Portugal on April 1st. That's a really good fight. I mean, this is the UFC veteran test. There's no other way to kind of describe it for Kiefer. And he said it on his social medias as well. Go in there, get the job done against Cowboy Oliveira, and then you're looking at getting your ticket to the UFC. That's probably what we can foresee happening. This is going to be a tough fight though for Kiefer all the same, and if he is to get that win and get that ticket to the UFC, it'll definitely be well earned against someone like Cowboy Oliveira, even at this later stage of his career, Andy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, exactly as you said, it's the UFC veteran test. The gulf between Kiefer's last opponent and Cowboy Oliveira is very significant here. But I think it's I love this fight for Kiefer. I think you go in there. Yeah, it's probably going to be a crazy fight. Realistically, I think this is going to be a bloody just technical at times, but it could turn into an absolute slobber knocker where it's just two lads just thumping the head off each other.
That will shoot Kiefer down to the ground, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've seen photos of Kiefer's posting lately. That was probably the Charlie Leary fight where, blood streaming down his face. He's ready to go, and obviously that fight ended up getting stopped. But to be fair to Kiefer, that was through he wasn't done. He would have kept going. And Cowboy Oliveira is a similar guy where he's just going to keep wading forward. So I think this will probably end in a finish one way or the other. Don't know which way it's going to be right now, but look, toughest. One of the toughest tests of Kiefer's career anyway. It's hard to gauge where Cowboy is in his career, but obviously the Georgie Carcanian's a very solid fighter as well. But yeah, if he wins this, who's to say he couldn't go on to the UFC after? Yeah, it came out of nowhere. Also, I remember hearing about this first. I was like, sorry, what? Kiefer's fighting who and where?
Yeah.
But yeah, a random one, Rise FC. I think it's their first event. What's his name? Brazilian legend's going to be there. Trained with Cyborg. Never mind. Move on. We shall move on. Let's move on to Cage Warriors Dublin. A trio of fights have been announced for the Dublin card, and my goodness, what a trio of fights as well. Let's start off with the headliner, Rhys McKee against Jimmy Wallhead. The unified welterweight title is on the line for the undisputed, I should say. Excuse me. Whoever will win will be the unified welterweight champion of Cage Warriors. And this is a fight that doesn't really surprise us being made. It was the fight that I think was the right move to make this fight, Caoilte. And, it's a chance for Kiefer to go in there, and it's tough competition in Jimmy, but for Rhys.
Just about to say.
Yeah, for Jimmy, sorry, for Rhys. I think I
let you away with Zach Wilson earlier on. I didn't bring it up, but now I have.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Well, we don't let each other away with anything on this, and that's the way it should be. But you look at for Reese, it's a good opportunity to headline the event in the Tree Arena. Caoilte. It should be a great fight.
Unreal. Like, yeah, it kind of looked like the one that was going to be made. I think everyone was, when you saw the card was announced, you're thinking, okay, process of elimination, it was like, okay, it's probably going to be Reese and Jimmy Wallhead, or maybe Caoilte and Andy and whoever else. But yeah, this one was, it's a great fight as well. Good test, against a UK MMA legend in Jimmy Wallhead. Like, so, it's a massive, it's a massive opportunity. It's probably going to be, if he wins, it's going to be the opportunity to go to the UFC again, and you get to do it in front of a home crowd. You get to do it in front of the home fans in a massive arena. Incredible. I'm delighted the fight was made, and I can't wait to see that. I think, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I can't wait to see that too. And a couple of good fights as well, Andy, that are going to be propping up that one as well. And talk to me about like, well, I don't know which one to mention first, because the both of these are brilliant. Let's mention James Sheehan and Oban Elliott first. I mean,
this card is bananas so far.
Jesus, lads! Like
Cage, I'll give him a clap. Cage Warriors. I was doubting them for a second, and they have delivered the goods so far for this Dublin card. There's with many more fights to follow, I'm sure. For James Sheehan versus Oban Elliott is like, it's a surprising matchup that Ian Dean has made here, because it's two lads who are really, surging at the moment. Obviously, but two lads that have faltered earlier on in their careers as well, and have rebuilt themselves and evolved and have come back with this ferocity and a whole new addition to their tool set. James Sheehan versus Oban Elliott, it's just a banger. It's a banger. They're both going to come. They're going to walk forward into each other. They're both very good grapplers. They're both good strikers. It's a clash of two prospects that you'd probably be happy to see in a title fight. And I can't wait. It's one of those ones where you're going to be a little bit nervous before the fight. Also, Oban Elliott, I feel like he's a guy who's very familiar to Irish MMA fans, and you've seen a lot of him. He's a likable guy. So it's just one that it has kind of a bit of everything for me in this fight.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this fight. And look at with Reese and Jimmy fighting in the main event. This is a welterweight fight too, and you said it, Andy. Caoilte, the winner could very well be fighting for the title shot next if they get and deservingly so. I mean, you come past Oban comes over the test of James Sheehan, or James Sheehan comes over the test of Oban. I wouldn't begrudge either one of those gentlemen getting the title shot next with you.
Not at all. But then it's interesting. It's a stacked enough division, and you wonder who they could actually fight next, because the likelihood is whoever wins the fight between Reese and Jimmy is probably going to go into the UFC. Maybe not so Jimmy in this stage of his career. I could be wrong with that. He could actually get signed.
I think Jimmy retires. If he wins. I think Jimmy retires, win or lose, to be honest.
I think so too. I think that's it. It'd be a perfect send off for him, obviously, if he did get the win. But obviously Reese will have his say in that as well. But I think you're right in saying that, and it'd be the perfect scenario, win or lose, to kind of.
And Reese should be back. Like, the way I see this fight as Reese's, as you said, Caoilte, Reese's re-entry to the UFC. The same way Modestas Bukauskas has just got an opportunity to go back in. This is Reese. If he wins this, he should be back in the UFC.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Last but not least, Ryan Shelley versus Tobias Harila, lads. Oh my God. Like, I am hurting on the inside that I'm not going to be in the 3 Arena for Tobias's entry, number one. And I'm doubly hurt that I'm not going to be able to see this fight live, but I will be sitting on the edge of my seat for this one. Caoilte, this is a fantastic matchup, and a fantastic stylistic matchup too. Tobias Harila has been in there. Obviously, he beat Decky McAleenan already, an Irish MMA competitor. He's coming in against Ryan Shelley, who's undefeated of Team KF. This is all the ingredients of an absolute banger, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like what I love about this, and I've been a massive Tobias Harila fan for years now, because he's always in exciting fights. He's got that willingness to just stand there and trade. Like, he went in against Samuel Barrick. I know he lost. He actually didn't look. I don't think he looked that right in that fight. I think something seemed up in that one. But the point aside, he went in against Samuel Barrick, and he was happy to try and strike with him. But he always is. He just brings. I think I called him Toby Violence before, and it's always stuck in my head because he's just.
It's brilliant.
He just loves. he just loves to stand and trade and get in these wars and make it exciting for the fans. Like from the walkout to the actual to the performance, he's just always like exciting. And then you've Shelley, who, like, I guess we may not have seen someone bring out that taekwondo striking as much before. And I think this is the one where we actually might see this, as you said, the stylistic matchup works out well here, because it might allow him to utilize that, you know, that taekwondo before and that really slick striking he has in that movement. And this would be such a good test. It's perfect. I think it could, you know, the winner could have a title shot next, but they also couldn't because it's a stacked division. But anyway, like wow, the matchmaking here is just something else. And yeah, match made in heaven, I guess, this one.
It's a beautiful style matchup, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
Unreal.
And all credit to Ian Dean, always delivers, and he has delivered again. And we probably have another 10 fights or more that could be announced as well. So, I mean,
yeah, we didn't touch on actually the other one we were about to talk about it, Omran Shaban versus Mushaslani. Omran, he has the opportunity to get some justice here for, was it Adam Darby that Mush fought last? Who he knocked out in the first round. So that, again, as a cracker, Omran has looked fantastic in recent fights, and Mushaslani looks not to be trifled with either. So they're going to be fighting on the London card on Paddy's Day. So our adopted Irishman Omran Shaban can get justice for another Irishman on Paddy's Day, in the same way that Ryan Shelley can get justice for Decky McAleen against Tobias Harila. How do you see the Lassie, how do you see the Shelley Harila fight going? Because the way I see it is, like, Shelley's the more technical striker, but Harila, like that last knockout he had against Damon Wilson, where he's just so vicious, and he throws with such bad intentions, as his nickname is. Yeah, it's a scary matchup.
It's a one that will probably look at if Ryan can keep away from the grappling exchanges. Like a bit closer to the time, I'll watch some tape, maybe have a better assessment. But like, it's the stylistic. If you see it on the feet, even though Tobias is good on the feet, I don't think he's as good as Ryan Shelley. And I think obviously Tobias will fancy himself in the grappling department, but we've seen Ryan Shelley come on leaps and bounds in that as well. And it's exciting because we've seen there's not too many people that will be lining up, and it's a real test for Ryan Shelley, and he's going to find out how good he is when he goes in there. Because if he goes in and puts away someone like Tobias Harila, then we're off to the races here with Ryan Shelley, and vice versa. If Tobias can do it, I mean, he would almost guarantee, like, we could be talking title implications on this fight too, depending on how it goes. So that kind of makes it extra exciting for me as well. So definitely an interesting one, and I will enjoy to watch that, as will I be. I'm looking forward to seeing the return of Nathan Kelly, who will come back on March 3rd, not to take on the New Jersey Nets or Jets, or the New York Jets, is it? Quarterback Zach Wilson. So sorry if I said Zach Wilson at the start of the podcast. He takes on Zachary Hicks. So watching too much NFL at the minute, lads.
Flying on the Jets.
Yeah. So unfortunately, no, there's not going to be the New York Jets. Zachary Wilson will not be stepping in to fight Nathan Kelly. It will be Zachary Hicks. And we shall not wax lyrical too much about that, because we have the man on himself to talk about that fight. So I'm going to send it over to myself for that interview with Nathan Kelly. Nathan Kelly joins us today on the Auld Triangle. Nathan, thanks for joining us again, a little bit behind the scenes. Take two after one failed interview with connection issues and stuff on our end. Fingers crossed this one goes well, but we do appreciate you taking the time to speak with us again. We hope you're well.
Yeah. Nathan's our first ever repeat guest, actually.
Yeah.
So nice to have to do it twice. That's what Anthony Joshua says, isn't it?
Yeah,
like you said, boys, I'd rather get a good quality one rather than be messy and all that jazz. So
100%.
I'm all for it.
You're getting all set to fight Zachary Hicks now. Just a little bit over a month now to go. March 3rd over in Florida. You must be buzzing to get back. The hand injury is all healed up. You see on the pads and doing some rounds this week as well. So you must be kind of really getting into the flow of things now. How's the feelings heading into this fight?
Yeah, the feelings are good. I feel very sharp. I'm 5 weeks out today, the fight is, so but I feel very sharp. Like, I had 2 spars this week. I had Mario Starder and Kieran there yesterday, and you know what I mean. My hands especially, like, I know I was injured with the hand for a while. So when I came back, I made like this promise to myself to not have lost any of the spark that I had in my hands. So I've been doing a lot of boxing, a lot of striking, just to make sure that the hands, like, still had that pizzazz about them, you know what I mean? And I put a lot of time, spent a lot of money in PTs and stuff like that, one-on-one sessions to make sure that me striking can come up another level. And I think it's doing just that in the spars. Like I really do feel like me striking has come on like substantially in the last like year, and in the last 6 months, then again like nearly double the amount because of the amount of time I've been putting into it and the amount of work I've been putting in. So I'm really looking forward to going into this fight and, you know, showing the work I've been putting in with me striking, because like I said before, like I'm a good grappler, like, so I always wanted to get the striking to a level where I'd only grapple if I needed to, and like on my terms, you know what I mean, instead of having to force things and, you know, just trying to force a takedown to try win a round and stuff like that, you know what I mean. I'd rather be able to control the fight on the feet, and then, you know what I mean, hurt them, take them down, just control them completely. But yeah, this Zachary Hicks guy, I really do feel that me striking's gonna be too much for him. Like, I feel like he's gonna be shooting for me like for takedowns, as I predicted Ben Ellis would. Like, so it's kind of a similar approach I'm having going into this. I'm not taking anything away from his skills. Like, I reckon he'll be explosive into his shots, and he'll have a strong body lock. But I don't think anyone at this level doesn't have a decent takedown entry and a decent strength body lock. So I'm very strong in the body lock myself. So like that's an area I'm quite good at as well. So we'll see what he has to offer to me. But I feel that there's a TKO or a KO finishing me in this fight.
100%. Look, you mentioned you've been working on your stand-up a lot, and sometimes when I'm observing guys like Charles Oliveira, all these guys who are good black belts as well, and are not afraid to get taken down, I think it's a perfect question to ask you. Do you feel that like you can open up a little bit more on the feet because you're not really care about getting taken down, really? Like, because if you get taken down, you're completely comfortable. Obviously, you're Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. Obviously, you want to be in control, but do you feel that little bit more freedom with your striking game? Because it certainly looked that way against Ben Ellis in your last fight as well, because you just unloaded on him from the get-go without any worry. You said you like to move forward at all times, but would I be right in saying, yeah, like you feel a little bit more freedom on the feet because you're not worried about getting that takedown or getting taken down or put on your back?
Yeah, I am. Like, I've reached that level. I always felt like when in some of my fights I used to rush forward for grappling exchanges, and I'd almost throw away any striking exchanges that I had because I was almost like tentative to throw hands, and because I didn't feel I was a skilled there, you know what I mean? But in the last while, I felt, because I've improved my skills so much, that, you know what I mean, there's not much need to worry about the grappling. I actually have very good takedown defense as well, you know what I mean? I pride myself in being hard to take down. Like, I'm not easy to take down. I make it hard for anyone. Like, if they grab the legs, I'm good. Like, good at getting the hips back, pulling them up, and clinching and stuff like that, and regarding with my arms and pummeling and stuff like that. Like that with the body lock, I'm good. Like, all we did was grapple in SBG. You know what I mean? We drill them areas so much that it's like, and I have such good lads trying to take me down. Like that, Kieran Clark, Richie Smullen, Brad Catone, you know what I mean? Serious grapplers, like, trying to take me down every day. And just being comfortable with them enough gives me the confidence that when I do go in there with someone, when I'm letting my hands go, when I'm being loose in there, when I'm being relaxed, I'll see the takedown coming and I'll be prepared, because I always feel like they're going to shoot for a takedown regardless after a few smacks off me. So I feel like once I control the distance, I'll see the takedown coming. So, and like that, if worst case scenario I do get taken down, I have a really good guard off me back, you know what I mean? I'm very submission heavy off me back, and I'm very attack focused off me back. So even if I am on me back, I'm going to be attacking submissions and moving a lot. And, you know what I mean, when you're under pressure like that from top, you have to be very cautious. And most people, when they're under that pressure, they'll posture up high, and then that's the best time to either stand up or like come up with them as they posture up off of like a single leg or a double leg, and I'll come back to like even a scrambly position and try to get a takedown myself from bottom. But yeah, you're right. I don't really, not that I don't give up, Alex, but I'm more relaxed now. I'm more focused on the feet, and I feel like when you're that calm and comfortable on the feet, you kind of see everything as it is. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? You're almost expecting the takedown when you're landing clean shots. So I'll be aware, I'll be alert, and I'll be reactive to whatever they have to offer. And that goes for every opponent. Do you know what I mean? And it's going to be no difference with this guy. Zach Hickson. I'm gonna be lighting him up on the feet, and I'm expecting that body lock. I'm expecting that fake jab, double leg takedown. That's what all I can see that he really does. That's effective. But I'll be prepared for that. I'm training with, like I said, I'm training with the best lads who do that type of stuff. So I'll be well prepared and I'll be well ready for this lad 100% for me.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you say that, because actually the finishing sequence in the Ben Ellis fight was from him trying to take you down as well, and you did excellently to going to get in and get the rear naked choke. Like, look at you, ticked off a lot of boxes in that fight. You were on ESPN over here in stateside. You put on a tremendous performance. You got the first round finish, and you had to deal with the highs of that, but also you injured your hand in the same fight as well. So, I mean, how was that mixed bag of emotions of, you know, being satisfied over the performance, but then the disappointment of maybe not being able to kind of ride the crest of the wave of that performance into maybe another training camp or another fight? How did you kind of get your mindset right in around that time? Because it must have been frustrating that you kind of couldn't keep that kind of momentum going for you.
Yeah, initially I was frustrated. I'm more one than because the pain just annoyed me. Whatever about the injury, just the pain of me hand for them 2 weeks or so. I was just like, for fuck's sake, like this is just I couldn't sleep much and all over it. I mean, because my hand up just felt like it was just throbbing all the time. So I don't only get that pulsating feeling in your joints or whatever it was when something like that happens. Like I literally just felt like I was in bits where I couldn't really sleep. I was swallowing painkillers. It was like 2 weeks before I actually got to see the hand specialist. I was in and out of hospital. They were sending me home, telling me to come back, sending me home, telling me to come back. And I eventually saw the hand specialist just saying the Tuesday. And she was like, I need to do surgery on this tomorrow because this is fucked. And I was like, well, it's funny you say that because I'm trying to see it the last 2 weeks. Like, and she was like, oh, I apologize about that and all, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. I was just like, fuck it. Like, at least I'm getting the scene. So I got this cast surgery and I was 4 weeks, and I just said to myself, fuck it. I'm just gonna use this to use this, whatever it was, 4 to 6 to 8 weeks. I did, because initially I thought I'd be back in 8 weeks. You know what I mean? So 4 weeks in the cast, I said that was grand. And then, like I said, last time I was like sitting at home, like couldn't play the PlayStation. You know what I mean? And I just
disaster.
You get into FIFA, Call of Duty or something. You know what I mean?
You probably completed Netflix, did you?
I couldn't even watch Netflix. I was too sour to sit still in the house. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was bringing me dogs for a walk, and he's so strong. He's injuring me left shoulder because all I could walk with is my left shoulder, and I already have a bogey left shoulder for years now. You know what I mean? Just always like have aches and pains in it and stuff like that. So he was tearing me around. I was like, I just can't win here. So initially I got the cast off, and I just literally. I was told I was meant to not do anything for like another month or two, and I got the cast off, and I started moving around lightly doing jiu-jitsu. And then like by the next week then I was just training jiu-jitsu full on. I just didn't give a bollocks. Once I said to myself, once I just taped up my hand, and I was like, once I don't feel pain, I'm good, you know what I mean? And I didn't really feel pain. The only time it hurt me is if someone kind of landed on it or something like that. But I was very cautious in who I was going with and what position, where I was leaving my hand. And so I actually became more technical because of it, because I couldn't be reckless, I couldn't be stupid. I had to be very technical in my movements and where I put my weight and where I shifted everything, and had to make sure everything was on point. So that ended up being a little bit of a savior for me, because I was able to like get my mind straight and exercise and relieve some stress and just get back moving again. So that was a big one for me. And then I said, fuck it. It was like 2 or 3 weeks later. Then I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do a competition. I done Grappling Industries. Like, I was like, I'll just tape it up. I'll be grand. Like, and I ended up winning gold at that then. And I had four deadly fights. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? Fucking, maybe I'm not doing so bad. You know what I mean? It was a nice little way to end the year, because I didn't have a fight or anything. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck it, I'll end that year on that positive note. And then took another month or two, maybe closer to 2 months after I got the cast off. Then was just to let me hand heal for striking, because I was just very cautious of maybe throwing a bad hook or something and clipping me thumb again or whatever like that, you know what I mean? But I just made the decision then to go back sparring one day, test it out, and I felt fine. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll kind of start easing back into this. And I started doing pads, I'd wrap my hand very well. Brian Moore is the man for advice for wrapping the hands. He knows the stuff, so he was kind of telling me what to do in terms of wrapping my hands and even what way to be throwing me punches, because he had similar hand injuries. So listened to a bit of Brian's advice on it, and went back doing pads. And since then, like I said, I've been just flat out doing loads of one-on-one sessions, getting loads of technical advice on just like hand gestures, hand position when I'm throwing punches, footwork, all that jazz. And I was training last night, I was doing a bit of boxing last night, and it's one of them sessions, after I really saw the improvements in myself from like when I first started doing them since I came back, you know what I mean? My boxing coach Steven was like, fuck me, now you're coming on a lot now, you know what I mean? Your IQ was starting to really improve and all that jazz. I was walking out of the session feeling great, you know what I mean? And they're the little wins that I kind of look for after having such a bad haul of thoughts and like frustration and all that jazz. Like, it seems like so long ago now when all that was going through my head, and now I feel like I'm on a fresh start now. Like I said, 5 weeks out, I'm very fit. I'm proper sharp in sparring. I'm landing lovely shots, defending takedowns very well, getting takedowns. Like I'm just, I feel like I'm really complete now at the minute, and all I need to do is go in, be relaxed, and believe in my skills, and go in and put everyone away like I've been doing, and then keep this streak going. Like,
yeah, it's great to hear that you've kind of come back so well with the recovery, and it sounds like you've taken a very intelligent and cautious approach. Because what I was going to ask was, you know, when you have a hand injury, your hands are so instrumental to every aspect of your game, really. Obviously, apart from kicking, but you know, grappling, striking, and for a guy who's come in kind of as a jiu-jitsu black belt, you've kind of reinvented yourself and added tools to your game where you're this heavy hitting striker now. Almost you're kind of a more full package. Is there any kind of mental doubts or hesitancies when you're going, you know, those initial training sessions where you're going back thinking, you know, can I hit the same way I used to be able to, or hesitancies that you don't want to, you know, re-injure your hand? We've seen the likes of a guy like Paul Hughes who had been plagued for years with hand injuries. You know, what was it like going back into those sparring sessions initially with the hands?
Yeah, initially I was very cautious and I felt like I was holding back. And I done a spar, actually. I actually done a spar quite early. And I just felt like I was holding back too much. So I was talking to Dave Roach, and I was like, Dave, I might just take a bit more time, you know what I mean, before I got back to sparring. He was like, don't rush into it. Like, he's like, you're a high level anyway. It's not like you're going to lose all this skill in the next month or so if you just take another month and let yourself kind of build your confidence back up in the hand. So I just listened to his advice, and I was like, fuck it, I'm not in a rush to get back. Like, I have loads of time. Like, this is before Christmas, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, I have fucking loads of time. So I just chilled out for a while, and I just like kind of like took the pressure off myself to get back and be doing loads and being busy and all that jazz, because I'm a hard worker anyway. Once I have a fight camp, I'm switched on, and I'll always be putting the work in. So like, it was never going to be an issue of me putting the work in for the fight and all that jazz. It was just like that, building the confidence back up and having that assurance in myself that I can throw punches. Like, I don't obviously throw too hard in sparring. I don't want to be knocking the head off me teammates. You know what I mean? Just it's very controlled. But I think honestly, boys, like, I'm very blessed that I didn't break me thumb or anything like that. It was just me. I threw a straight right, and it just clipped off the side of his head. It's never happened to me in my life. You know what I mean? It was like a freak accident. Like, it clipped off the side of his head and just pulled the ligament off the bone when it jerked it down. You know what I mean? I've literally never ever nothing like that has ever happened to me. You know what I mean? So I think it was just a freak accident. And like, since I've been coming back, I haven't been throwing punches in a way to do that. I think when I threw it, he kind of just slipped his head slightly to the left at the same time I did it, and it just grazed off his head. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? All I know is now is that I feel fresh, and now I feel good, and like, I don't really have to hold back in myself because I've built up the confidence. I remember I said this last time as well. I actually popped my ankle where a fella heel hooked me at grappling injuries and blew my ankle. So like, that injury actually took my mind off the hand, and I was just primarily focused on getting my ankle correct. You know what I mean? So I subconsciously self-healed me thumb in the meantime of doing that. So like, that kind of distracted me from it. And then before I knew it, I was sparring, and I wasn't thinking of that. I was going into the spars thinking, right, I can't roll my ankle, I can't kick because in case they check it and I hurt my ankle and blah blah blah. But like, so that kind of like you know what I mean, in a roundabout way, distracted me. But like my ankle's grand now as well, so I'm literally 100%. Obviously, I don't tell me what fight. I doesn't have niggles going into a fight. You know what I mean? If I don't think you're working hard enough unless you have a niggle or two going in. So no, I'm feeling good now. You know what I mean? And I'm actually looking forward to showing again how good my striking is and how much is coming on. And I think this lad is a good opponent to do that. Like, and really show it to like a much broader audience now, and especially in the States, who I am and what I can do with my skills.
Yeah, you mentioned Dave Roach there, and you know he's kind of a little bit of an unsung hero in SBG. He kind of stays behind the scenes, does a lot of work with everybody. What's been your experience working with Dave over the last couple of years?
Dave is a fucking legend, boys. Outright, he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life. Honestly, since I first joined SBG, he's been like very supportive of me. Obviously, he knew I was a new face, and he knew I was a decent level. You know what I mean? And he's a real positive person to have in your corner and in your life. You know what I mean? He'll always give you advice, and he's like a good hype man. You know what I mean? He'll say the right things to you when you need it. You know what I mean? And I've been putting a lot of time in with him over the last year or so. On pads and just like talking to him, and I've been away with him a few times now. I've been away with him in Malta. He was in me, so I was training with him in my corner for more or less all my fights actually since I joined us. He's been in my corner for all my fights since I joined SBG, so I built up a good relationship with him in that. Like, I feel comfortable around him. He feels comfortable with me. I went away with Malta with him. Like, me and him missed the flight and all. We came home together. You know what I mean? He fucking nice enough when we paid for.
How did you miss the flight?
We just chose to stay. We didn't miss it per se. We chose to stay another night, and like, fair play to him, he paid for my flights home, boys, and he wouldn't take money on me. Like, they're like things like that. Like he knew I wasn't getting paid much, and he told me to look after myself. Like, there are things like that go a long way with me. You know what I mean? And I hold things like that close to my heart, and you know what I mean. And that's a big thing for me to be on. Like, I really got to feel like he's on my side and he's really with me, you know what I mean, doing things like that for me. That went to PFL with him as well, and just he's so chill, you know what I mean. He's just proper sound fella. Like, there's no fucking bullshit with him. He's just proper chill. We go over, we get the job done, and we enjoy the experience. And he's a good bit of laugh, a few gargles in him as well. So after the fight,
that's the main thing.
After the fights, when you get a few gargles, he's a good bit of crack as well. So he's just a fucking legend, boys. I've a great time for him. And I'm blessed he's in me. I'm blessed I have him on my team and in my corner. Like,
you've been in SBG for a couple of years now, so like, now that you're kind of more assimilated, settled in, like, what have you know? Like, looking from the outside in, you've come from a much smaller gym to a much larger gym, where I imagine in Cuso, it's probably a lot of one-to-one training with coaches. There's so many fighters in SBG where it's probably just not possible. So I imagine you're relying a lot on the rounds with your training partners, and there's so many bodies in the gym there. You know, what have you noticed? What's your biggest takeaway, I suppose, for the training that you're getting in SBG versus what you were previously?
I think it was just like, I would have had, so when I was training Cuso, it was primarily a jiu-jitsu gym. You know what I mean? So I would have had jiu-jitsu sparring partners, but no real striking sparring partners. And any striking I would have done would have just been kind of like pad work and stuff like that with Barry. So I wouldn't have been tested as much in Caoilte, you know what I mean? Because I was all in since I'm a kid, you know what I mean? And I had such ambition that, like, you know, even in the jiu-jitsu rounds, we'd make them as much MMA like as we could, but I just felt like I was always fitter, more athletic, and just a bit sharper than some of the other guys. Because most of these people in Barry's club would have been, in Caoilte, would have been like full-time workers, and they come in and just to do a bit of jiu-jitsu to enjoy it, you know what I mean? And I was coming in to make a fucking career out of this shit, you know what I mean? I was coming in baiting them all, you know what I mean?
One poor fella working a 9 to 5 and you're hammering him.
He's just had the worst day ever in the office, and Nathan comes and just smashes him.
Rubbing his hands, he finished his work early, rubbing his hands, grand, they're gonna go do a few rounds tonight, and he sees me fucking MMA gloves on.
Really strutting after the mat.
So like that was a big takeaway, you know what I mean? Coming to SBG and having, like, getting my arse handed to me every day, you know what I mean? Like, that's this year. I always remember at this time, like, I obviously, as you know, I fought Kieran Davern before. I bet my amateur, and I came up to SBG one day, and you know what I mean, one of my first days at SBG, I was like, oh, come on, we go do a round, Kieran. Fuck me, boys. He put me in my place. I was like, because I was playing a lot of jiu-jitsu at the time before I joined up, and I was happy to play bottom, you know what I mean? And I got a fucking rude awakening. I was like, bollocks. I was like, fucking hell, I was some catching up to do, you know what I mean? But
The tables have turned.
there, literally, I was like, fuck me. I was like, Jesus, it's been that long, has it, since I've done all this shit? But like, I needed that, you know what I mean? I needed that little bit of a wake-up call, and, you know, to get humble like that, because, like, I don't think without that I wouldn't have lit this fire in my belly, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thankful enough to have them that high level around me, and like, even like, so, like, I've done a lot of training with Richie as well, Richie Smullen, and like a lot of smashing, a lot of me on bottom getting smashed by Richie. The fella's a beast. Like, honestly, boys, he's so fucking good. Like, a lot of training with Brad, you know what I mean? A lot of just, and then even the lads that, like, around kind of my level, like Kenny, Derek Kelly, Jordan Fury's very good, Mario, SAL, you know what I mean? All them lads I'm getting tested against, and they're at the top of their craft as well. So there's no really, like, there's no dodging these lads, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not one to fucking run away from a good challenge. So the fact that I've been putting the work in and testing myself against these lads, I'm not afraid to lose against them. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like I'm not going in with an ego. I'm not gonna tap any of these, or I'm not gonna accept. Like, I'll go in, like, it's the same approach to everyone. Like, I could have a great day, but, like, I'm not gonna go boasting about, you know what I mean? You might be sharp one day, and I might get the better one of the lads, and then they'll definitely get the better of me then at least one of the other 2 days, or one of the other 5 days out of the week, you know what I mean? It's just the game we're in, like, and thankfully I'm around such a good high level, and there's no egos, there's no arseholes, we're all just there to help each other get better. And the time that I've put in to realizing that, and just making sure I get the best out of myself during these rounds is a big one for me. So that's the main thing I've noticed, is just the level I never had to spar with, you know what I mean, in Caoilte. Then you go to this new gym, and you're seeing this level every day, and you're getting tested every day, and some days you come home questioning yourself. Lee Hammond as well, sorry, I forgot to mention Lee. Lee's a fucking beast as well, like, and like,
it's great to have them all. They're all around your size as well.
All the same weight as me, boys. So
serious,
I'm blessed. The amount of 66 lads they're about 70 lads is unreal, you know what I mean? And, like, just to have to be surrounded by this every day, you're not going to go anywhere but up. You know, you surround yourself with people who are all like-minded, same skill level thereabouts. We're all going to progress together, you know what I mean? And there's something good going on there, and I'm happy to be a part of it at the minute. And I think also, like, in another way then, because I've been putting the work in with the lads, you know what I mean, I kind of earned me respect, you know what I mean? So, like, John and Dave would have obviously seen I was putting in work, and, you know, felt like I am a decent level, and I've really rise to the occasion, and all the opportunities I've been given. So obviously then they're gonna have a bit more of a liking to me then, because I'm not just coming in trying to be a part of the SBG name, thinking of all this, thinking of all that, coming here just to try rob a living or whatever like that. I'm coming in to fucking put the work in. I'm not, like, I don't. Some days I'm very quiet on the mat. I won't even say anything to anyone. I'll just rock up, do my training, and I'm not here to bleed and lick arse, or I'm not here to fucking do that. And I'm just there to put the work in and get to a high level and get to the top of my craft, you know what I mean? And the lads obviously respect that, and because of that I get a good bit of their time and stuff like that. So they're the main ones for me. I saw it as a growing, like a stage of growth where I can go here, because I always kind of had Barry in my ear and me corner, like, not that I was right, a bad thing. He was great for advice and great, always calm me down. He'd always steer me in the right directions. But when I went to SBG, then I was like, I'm on my own now. I'm doing my own thing, and now this is a time where it's up to me, because I would have always had Barry. Barry texting me, right, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. But now it was up to me to rock up. I had my own responsibility to rock up, and that's what I enjoyed, and that's where I really found out, like, how much I wanted to do this, and how much it was in me to succeed. And like I said, being a part of this team helped light that fire even more, and having the coaches that I have is obviously settled me and puts me in a good position to do that. Like,
yeah, obviously all that work is going to be on show on March 3rd. There's no featherweight tournament anymore. You're a part of the PFL Challenger Series, so the kind of roadmap on where you were kind of hoping to go in the PFL has somewhat changed for you now. So what's the plan for you in your head in the PFL right now? Obviously going in and getting the win, but how do you kind of foresee the rest of the year going after that?
I think, well, so obviously get this fight out of the way, and they said they want to have me on at least 2 shows in Europe for this year. So, pardon me, Dublin is obviously one, has to be. There's no way. I'm the only dub who fights them, so there's no way they can't have me on the Dublin card. I'll end up bleeding. I'll be picketing outside fucking their office. Don't have me on that Dublin card.
They'd be silly not to have you on that. Like,
Yeah,
I know. I'll end up kicking up a storm. I will if they don't put me on that. But yeah. But then also as well, I've seen your man Titano Taylor. You know what I mean? He fought in the Challenger Series and he got in on an injury. You know what I mean? Into the US Series.
yeah.
So I don't know if that could be a potential for me either. Like if someone gets injured in the featherweights, could they call me up to that and give me a chance on that? You know what I mean?
I don't see why not. If you stay going out there and performing like the way you're performing, man, I mean, that it's a good motivation in its own right for you to go out there and just stay healthy. Obviously, stay fit and stay fighting and getting finishes. I mean, anything can happen. I'm sure if he was asked that question at the start of last year, he wouldn't have even suspected of going in there and fighting someone like Rory MacDonald or even getting the chance to fight for the million as well. Like like the potential, like I guess, even though, the tournament isn't happening, there's still plenty going on there and plenty to work towards as well.
Yeah, like you said there, like if someone gets injured and you're fighting Rory MacDonald, like knocking them spark out and then going into the final, that even excites me, you know what I mean? Like I could get called in the semi-final, you know what I mean, and get a chance, and then essentially I'm 2 fights away from $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, imagine like that'd be fucking clash. You know what I mean? Like that's something I dream of. You know what I mean? But obviously, then if that doesn't happen, like I have the option of fighting in Europe as well. So like it's a win-win for me, really. You know what I mean? Because I'm either going to be fighting in Europe, having the European crowd on my side, building me status in Europe, or else I'll get called into the US series if someone gets injured, and I'll have to earn me respect there, and I'll have US fans watching me, and obviously all these top featherweights looking at me and sussing me out and thinking, who the fuck is this guy? And I'll be coming to win, boys. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not there to fucking just be a name and a face. I'm coming to fucking put lads away, and I'm coming to really make a name for myself. And this is no ifs or buts about it. Like, what are you gonna go in for if you're not gonna do it all the way and try to be a champion? Like, and I'm coming there to be a champion. So if I have to go the longer approach, which is fighting in Europe to get there, I'm happy out. It's more experience. I'm building me profile, all that jazz. But if I get the call in for it, at the same time, I'm happy out with that as well, because I'm skipping a few steps and I'm kind of cheating a bit to get to the next step. So either way, I'm happy, you know what I mean? But I fucking better be on that Dublin card out, right? If I'm not on that Dublin card out, I'm gonna have a strike or something.
We'll clip this up. Send it to PFL.
I'm gonna do one of them strikes where I just sit in the nip in a glass box or something like that, or something mad like that. You know what I mean?
David Blaine, is it?
Yeah, David Blaine. I won't eat or drink or anything for like 40 days. Do something mad like that until they put me on the Dublin
do seem
card.
to be putting, they seem to be quite invested in you though. Like I've seen a number of clips on social media where they're, kind of highlight reels of I saw one of Ray Sefo and Greg Savage. They're kind of doing that thing where they're going through the Challenger Series and they were really kind of high on you. Like, what feeling do you get from PFL, from your dealings with them, as far as their confidence and their willingness to kind of position you to succeed in the organization?
Yeah, man, it feels class. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie. Like, who doesn't want that recognition and that support and that push from people who they work for? You know what I mean? It motivates me. It makes me feel good about myself. It makes me feel like they actually believe in me. You know what I mean? And they see something in me. Like that after my last fight, I got invited to a dinner with them with the PFL team. After it, like, we all went for food and had dinner with Ray Sefo. Like, I was sitting down eating my dinner with him, you know what I mean? Having a chat with him. I literally rocked in, boys. It was fucking mental. I rocked in. Kenny Florian was sitting there, right? I walked in on my own. I was a bit like, what the fuck's going on here? I was later than the rest of them, you know what I mean? And Kenny Florian was like, there's Nathan Kelly right there. And all. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is mad. And he banged the seat beside him. I sat down beside him. They whipped the fucking table. Before I knew it, there was a table in front of me, tablecloth on it, cutlery fuck down, plates and everything. I was like, what the fuck? And then
you're a long way from Finglas now.
That's it. I was like, what? And Peter Murray, the CEO, comes up to me, shakes my hand. He's like, Nate, anything you want to eat, anything you want to drink, it's on the house. Have a good night. Sit down there with Ray and have your dinner and have a chat with Ray. So I sat there having me dinner and having a chat with Ray, and you know what I mean. He was telling me the ins and outs, basically saying we don't pick fights. It's up to you to get to the million. If you want to get there, put the work in, win your fights, and like you will get there. You know what I mean? And I was like, Ray, I'm coming to win this million. Like I'm not just, like I said, the other day, I don't want to be just another name or another face. I want to be coming in and earning me crust and you know what I mean, getting this $1 million. Like this is what I've dreamed of as a kid, to be a champion in whatever promotion I'm fighting for. Like, and I will be a champion. It might take me 2 years, might take me 3 years, I don't know, but I will be a champion at some point. Like, and he's like, I love her attitude and stuff like that. And then I was just talking to him from a more human side of, like, I was talking to him about my life, and that I was a fan of his K1 fights, and now I'm sitting beside him eating dinner with him and all. It's fucking mental, you know what I mean? And then I'm turning to my left and Kenny Florian's there and Randy Couture's sitting next to him. And I'm like, wow, I was looking around, I was going, what the fuck this is mad. I was literally collecting the scratcher and Finglas there like 2 weeks before, you know what I mean? I was like, what is going on there? This is mental, like. And it was surreal to me, boys, you know what I mean? But obviously they took a liking to me, and Greg Savage, actually, he's one who kind of basically scouted me for PFL, and there was a lot of contact in with him. And he, when I went out to the dinner that night as well, I actually rode in the taxi with him, and we are cracking jokes. He's a bit of Irish blood in him as well, so we are like cracking jokes, slagging the English and all. You know the way, the typical things that go on with Irish. You know what I mean? And obviously I was just being myself. I wasn't sitting there quiet and afraid to say it. And you know what I mean? I was just being myself and having a bit of a laugh and not taking life too serious. And I think they liked that side of me. And then I was sitting down with him at the end of the night, him and Josh Fowler, who was one of the lads from the PFL production crew. And I was kind of gave them my backstory about, like, you know, my personal life, everything I've kind of went through up to this point with my mental health and, you know, my family issue, whatever went on in my life. And they were just like, and then I was just like, obviously I was throwing in jokes as well, like making a laugh out of the situation as well, like adding a bit of humour to it. And they were just sitting there looking at me, laughing and smiling. And they just thought I was a mad little fucker, you know what I mean?
Probably looking at you like you had 3 heads.
Yeah, they're like, this fella is crazy, you know what I mean? Like, just like most Irish are, you know what I mean? I'm a fighter and I'm Irish, so I have to be a bit mad in the head anyway, you know what I mean? But I think they just saw something that they liked, and ever since then, they've been backing me. They've given me a lot of time, and I think they really wanted me to grow with them in the company, and they wanted me to be a part of this build in Europe and a part of this build, and give me a chance to actually give me a chance to grow my platform and stuff like that. Because obviously, maybe it's not as known as some other fighters around Ireland at the minute, and like obviously, I'm kind of probably a bit more to the background compared to some of the other lads who are competing maybe on Cage Warriors and Bellator and stuff like that. So I feel like these are giving me a chance to get my kind of recognition in the sport, whereas like I feel like I'm kind of like teetering behind some of the lads in Ireland. So I feel like now they're giving me a chance to do that, and it's just about me grabbing it by the balls and fucking, you know, making the opportunities come to reality. Like,
absolutely. And like it's great listening to you, to be honest, talking about it, because you can hear the excitement and the happiness in your voice. And I think one of the great things that PFL do well is empowering fighters to, as you said, you can grab it by the balls, grab by the scruff for your neck yourself. And if you go out and win, you keep winning, then you're going to succeed. You don't have to, we've seen fighters in the sport where they're on 10 fight win streaks, 11 fight win streaks, and they're not getting the opportunities that they've rightly earned because maybe they're not as brash a personality or whatever. So that's amazing to hear. We're going to wrap up with you soon here, Nathan, but I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about SBG. So one, you mentioned a load of lads there. Who is the hardest round consistently? Or we'll go with that question first. Who's the hardest round consistently in the gym?
Probably Richie Smullen. I swear to God. I always come away from a spar with Richie and I'm like, I'm gonna find out how to deal with him. I'm gonna find out how to suss him out, and I just never can, boys. He just I don't know what it is. He's like a fucking grandmaster at chess. You just cannot beat the cunt. You know what I mean? He just has, there's something about his grappling, boys. I don't know. It's very like, it's obviously Khabib, like we'll say. You know what I mean? And anyone in the gym will tell you like it's the same. He's just, you know what I mean? He's very consistent. He's always training. He's always drilling. He's always like he's so professional. You know what I mean? He'd be probably the toughest. Like I find myself getting smashed by him the most. In fairness, yeah.
Gotcha.
I can't.
John Kavanagh was on with. John Kavanagh was on with Ariel Helwani, the MMA, and he was saying one of the guys he was highlighting because he has this consistency where he works himself to the bone day in, day out. The second question I have of three, who do you think in 2023 will break out the most from the gym?
Break out the most. Who would you class who hasn't already broke out?
Maybe we'll switch. Who do you think will stand out the most from the gym? You can't say yourself.
Asael, boys, is very, very good.
Yeah.
Asael is yours, boys. He's very, very good. But it'll be between him and Lee, you know what I mean? But like there's so many good lads. Do you know what I mean? Like Kenny's very good. Kenny's very tricky. He has a bit of pizzazz about him. You know what I mean? He has a bit of slickness. He's like his brother Franz. He has that little bit of slickness in him. Like, but I just think Asael, boys, he's very, very good. He's very solid. He's a quality striker, high level striker, and his grappling is coming up to scratch as well. He's very hard to take down. He's very competitive. Like, he has all the tools there to be really good this year. Like, I'd say, I'm gonna go with Asael maybe because he's a bit more under the radar publicly at the minute than the rest of the lads, because a lot of the lads get more exposure than him. Seeing as they're Irish and all that jazz, you know what I mean? So
wait, what are you talking about? Ian O'Neill was just interviewing us there not too long ago.
Yeah, but it turns into the other boys, you know what I mean? All the lads,
I'm only buzzing.
Don't be stirring shit. Don't be stirring shit there, Andy.
But yeah, I'm gonna say Asael.
That's a fair call.
That's brownie points for me, so he doesn't kick the head off me the next time I spar. Hopefully I'm in the good books up now, you know what I mean? He won't boot the legs off me or kick the head off me, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'd say Asael, yeah.
Last one for me. This is one that I've been trying to wrap my head around for a while. Dara Kelly is a humongous man. He has muscles on muscles. He looks like a big 155er, and he's dropping down a weight class. How is he going to do it? And how do you reckon he looks?
He's a specimen, boys. Just the width of him, the shape of him, the shape he's in now. I'm looking at him sitting in the sun, looking at him going, fuck me, how is he
getting down to 145?
Boys, he's very professional. He will make that. He's on the ball. He's not going to not make weight. I guarantee you now. He will. He's working with nutritionists. He's doing the right things, cardio wise, and he's on the ball with everything, boys. He's by the book. He's professional. You know what I mean? He knows what he can do with his own body. And yeah, man, it's just up to him to do it. As long as he puts in the work and doesn't slip up and he's disciplined, he can do it. And he is a disciplined lad, and he's just a fucking specimen of a man. I don't know. I'm looking at him going, fuck me, how are you fucking gonna make this right? But I know.
Do you think it'll suit him better? Like, do you think he'll look better, or like, were you surprised that he went down to 145?
I was a little bit surprised, yeah, because he was big at 170. He's big at 70. You know what I mean? 155. I was like, fucking hell, like, you're going down here. Like, now after Christmas, obviously, leading up to, when you know you're fighting at 70 or 155, I'm always going between the both weight variations. But fucking when you're fighting at that way, you know you can come in a bit heavier. So I think he'd bulk up a bit more for that way. But then after Christmas, I was talking to him, and he was like, obviously after Christmas, he's a bit trimmer because he maybe wasn't doing as much weightlifting and strength work, maybe. So maybe some of his mass kind of came down with him, so he was a bit lighter after Christmas, and he was thinking about doing it, and he said he's going to do it. I was like, fuck. And he told me he was actually the same weight as me, you know what I mean? I was like, what weight are you? And I think he was like 74, 75. I was like, fucking hell, you're the same weight as me. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, and maybe I'm not so bad, like. And but yeah, he's doing it now. He's gonna, I don't know how it's going to affect him. You know what I mean? Only the time will tell in the performance. But he's, one thing for certain is, like, when you're leaner, you're quicker, you're more agile, you have a bit more like about you. You know what I mean? So we'll see if that's the case. His cardio is obviously going to be through the roof, because you have to do a lot of cardio, obviously, to make the weight, because it's not going to come off itself. You know what I mean? So I think he has all the tools to do it. I just hope that it doesn't take too much out of him, because I've been there with heavyweight cuts myself, fighting at 61 and stuff like that. But in the same in all, with all due respect, I didn't do it right. You know what I mean? He's on the ball with nutritionists and stuff like that. I was a fucking manga. I thought I was 19 thinking I knew everything about nutrition, and I was bleeding not eating carbs and all for about 6 weeks, like a fucking stupid bastard. You know what I mean? And I learned the hard way. You know what I mean? And then I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm never doing that again. But he's working with, I think, Yannick McGee, and he has good lads in his area. You know what I mean? So I think he'll be on the ball. Like I said, he's a true professional. He's very keen on doing the right things for himself. So
Great to hear.
I think he'll have no issue doing it. It'll be tough. It'll be tough like every weight cut is. You know what I mean? No weight cut is easy. No one likes weight cutting. It will be tough, but he has the mental fortitude, I'd say, to get through it.
Nice one. Last one from me before we let you go, Nathan. Thanks very much for the time. What does it mean for you to be able to represent Finglas on the world stage? Because that's where you're at right now. And maybe a twofold question. What can fans expect to see when you go in there on March 3rd to take on Zachary Hicks?
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, I'm proud of where I come from. Like, I just always explain this to people, like where I'm from, like, we're not supposed to be make something of ourselves. We're supposed to be dead end jobs. Maybe go to college to do a job that study something that you don't like. You know what I mean? Fucking, if you're lucky, if you're one of the more like fortunate ones, you can go to college and maybe do something that you think you like, then stuck doing a job that you hate, all that jazz. So I just feel like there's a certain stigma around those young players and things like, right, I'm meant to be on the scratcher, or I'm meant to be in poxy dead end jobs. We're just not meant to be going anywhere with ourselves. You know what I mean? And I just kind of always had this thing in my head that I wanted to break that like system of like belief in other people's minds, where like he's a young fella wearing tracksuit, so he's like all the rest of them. You know what I mean? So I always had that fire in my belly to like separate myself from like that stereotype and show that I can actually do it. You know what I mean? I can. You know what I mean? I am like everyone else from around here. I am one of them young fellas, but you know what I mean? I'm a really hard worker at the back of it all, and to do that, for being from Finglas, to wear that on me heart and wear that on my sleeve, like it makes me more motivated to show that like I'm from here and I can do this. You know what I mean? And maybe then it'll give people the incentive to feel that way about themselves. Maybe they get off corners, to stop fucking hanging around with their mates all the time, doing the usual illegal activities that most young players to be at. You know what I mean? And just maybe give a bit more of a positive light in the area. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good people in this area. Obviously, sometimes the bad outweigh the good, and they get more rep, like, on the bad rep on the area, I'd say. So I'm really proud to be able to bring a good rep to the area and show like that. You know what I mean? Not everyone from English is a little toe rag or a scumbag or a tracksuit wearing fool. You know what I mean? So I like to do that. And then I forget what the second part of the question was.
Just what can we expect to see March 3rd when you're going in there against Zachary Hicks?
Yeah, I'm gonna expect to see me coming out relaxed, confident, fully prepared for what he has, and with full belief for what I can do with my skills. And I can feel a finish, boys. I can feel a KO or a TKO finish. If not like that same kind of Ben Ellis style, I might catch him in the grappling exchange, and I'll take full advantage of that. And if I get a submission, I'll get a submission. But my plan is to hurt him so much that I either knock him out or TKO him. And then obviously if he makes a mistake or panic wrestles, like, you always get something in them exchanges from a grappling perspective and in submissions and stuff like that. But I want to make me mark over there with a KO or a TKO, and I think I can do it within inside 2 rounds.
100%. Really looking forward to seeing it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Nathan, and we wish you all the best on March 3rd, and we'll talk to you again down the line. All the best to you. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us today.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for having me on, lads. Actually, I do like an hour's chat with you every now and then. You know what I mean? You're out in the woods.
That's it, yeah. Maybe
you got 2 in a week, so
yeah, 2 a week. Yeah, I've been doing this every week. I think now I'll fuck Wiltshire. I'll just join this.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's after, you know,
he's in trouble now.
Strike one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the ball, Nathan. Thanks so much, man. Take it easy.
Thanks, Nathan.
Let's talk about some Premier FC, shall we? 3 becomes 2 as Andy joins me today. Yeah, we recorded the first.
We killed Caoilte.
yeah.
He's swimming. He's sleeping in the liffey somewhere.
Poor Caoilte. Caoilte couldn't be with us for this section of the show. Obviously, we recorded the first part, as we said, before Premier happened, and we're going to talk about it now, myself and Andy, about that card, which happened on Friday last. And overall, Andy, before we get into the nitty-gritty, great to have Irish Regional MMA back. And it was another good, solid card by the lads over at Premier FC. Their 5th card in a year. They've done some great work, haven't they?
Yeah, brilliant. Great to see them back in their return to Tipperary in their the first ever, to our knowledge anyway. I don't think anyone has disproved it yet. So the first ever pro MMA fight in Tipperary, which is great to see. And also the fact that it's the first pro, I think probably is really more significant for the promotion, is the first pro fight for Premier FC. It's showing the growth that they're kind of, they're looking to add and build, which is great, and a great night of fights. I really enjoyed a good few of them, some good performances, and we can crack into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like talking to Niall and the lads there, they do have some big plans, and like you said, it's great to see them introducing the professional fights. And as we've said time and time again, not easy to do that in the Republic of Ireland right now, the way things currently stand. So credit to the lads, and it was a great show. Look, at Nikola Ivanovic came in to take on Solomon Simon, who did make his professional debut, and no real surprises in this one, Andy. I think we all expected. Look at I think, there's a conversation to be had around Nikola where it's like he is a 0-5 fighter, but he would not be maybe your standard jobber or a can, if you want to say. He came in there and he gave a good account of himself. He did it against Lee Hammond. He did it against Solomon this time as well. So it does provide a challenge, but I think I'd like to see maybe a conversation with him and his team to see what's next for him. Is he going to want to go in there and fight killers all the time, or is he going to look maybe to fight a bit more of an even contest per se? But it'd be interesting to see what finds out. But Solomon went in there and he had to get the job done, and he did so in excellent manner. Didn't really look to be any real trouble altogether. I think, came in, Solomon took Ivanovic down straight away, landed some good shots, secured the Dagestani handcuffed, and landed some good damage in round 1. Brief exchange on the feet in round 2. Simon took the fight down again, moved into side control and kind of just dominated a little bit throughout round 2 as well. It was pretty similar, Andy, to round 1. In certain regards, Solomon Simon had a clear advantage on the ground. Ivanovic was struggling to get back up to his feet, where you would imagine it would be a little bit more even. But we've seen Solomon in good striking exchanges as well. So round 3 came out and exchanged on the feet as well. Solomon got a lovely body lock takedown, got the fight down, moved into mount, and landed lots of shots before the ref rightfully came in and called a halt to the fight. I think, in my opinion, it would have been disappointing for Solomon if he didn't go on to get the finish, but he did very, very well. I think that cage time will do him the world of good. We talked about it with Ronan in the episode, that adjustment from going from the 3-minute rounds to the 5-minute rounds. It might not seem like a whole lot, but it actually is. And, getting the chance for Solomon to kind of experience that in there will do him the world of good. But ticked off a lot of boxes in his first fight, and I'm looking forward to him getting in there and getting a good test in his next fight as well. Didn't take too much damage, so it might come sooner rather than later. What's your assessment on the fight and everything, that all the goings on in the main event?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you've said there, to be honest with you. I thought it was important for him to get that finish. Like, as you mentioned, the first 2 rounds, he kind of, I wouldn't say coasting, but he just looked very comfortable. He dominated the grappling action. Each round, there would be a brief exchange in the feet. Probably didn't want to take too many risks when he knew, look, I'll just take him down here and control and land shots. I thought the second round he was doing better. He did a better job of getting his shots off from, like, when he had like half guard, etc. And then the third round, especially, you saw the kind of ferocious shots from him. He needed that. I think he needed to show, well, not that he needed, but like, it was good to see him show that, to show that he has that finishing capability. And yeah, like, look, I agree with you on Ivanovic. Like, he's not a can, but I just think he's fighting guys where I don't think his skill set is refined enough where he should be in with these type of guys. Like, to be honest, like, I kind of wish he was still an amateur, and taking, tough fights, but where you can grow and where you can learn. And I heard him speak on Premier did a thing beforehand where he was talking about like he's taking fights on 3 days' notice, and when he's out drinking and stuff, and he's agreeing to fights, and his teammates are telling him don't, the decision making around taking fights, I would probably look at if I was him, but I'm not him. So look, he may end up taking more of these fights, and the outcome will probably remain the same. He may have brief periods of success in fights, but ultimately, he's 0-6 now, so it's hard to know where to go from here for a guy like that. But yeah, as far as Solomon, I think probably where more of the focus is, 13 minutes of cage time, plenty to build on, no damage. And I think the fact that really, it wasn't like it was a vicious beatdown either. So when you have guys that are maybe, we kind of expected Solomon to go in and win this, it was good from the perspective of if Ivanovic is going to be in there fighting these guys who are better than him, at least he didn't take a whole heap. He obviously took probably a bit of damage there in that finish, but apart from that, it wasn't too brutal, which I was glad of. But yeah, on to the next one really for Solomon Simon. And as you said, not much damage. So maybe we'll see him back again in a couple of months' time.
Yeah. I'd be looking forward to seeing Solomon back in there again. And, it's the thing, looking from the outside in, you one would maybe suggest you'd like to see Solomon taking a few more chances, but, it's a game of inches, especially in the professional ranks as well, where, you're not talking about amateurs anymore, where wins and losses don't really count, but everything counts in this as well. And I thought he handled the kind of situation perfectly, where it was more of a death by 1,000 cuts kind of a win, more so than anything else, where, he had that slow build towards the finish rather than maybe going in and taking a few chances in round one where you might get clipped, or you might get swept, or you might get your nose broken like Lee Hammond did in his last fight. You know what I mean? And those are tough things to come back from as well. So looking forward to seeing Solomon back in there again. Great to see him off the mark for his first professional fight. And yeah, a couple of good fights happened on the undercard as well. I thought Armin Herzog and Kevin Caoilte was a good fight as well. Caoilte started well, caught the leg with a kick and got the takedown, but Herzog did well to latch on to that single leg and work his way back to defeat. An absolute wild grappling exchange, seeing kind of Caoilte
mad finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was mad altogether. It was like, the position that he was in half guard as well, like you have to have a tremendous squeeze to kind of get that finish there. And Herzog kind of did have that kind of squeeze, and we got the tap. It was that one tap, Brazilian tap from Caoilte, where he just kind of realized it was a little bit too tight. And, you have maybe that split second of doubt where you tap and then realize maybe it's not, but it was too late at that stage. I think the ref did well to spot that, because it's hard in the heat at the moment to kind of spot that tap. But it was a great win by Armand, and a really impressive and an exciting fight for as long as it lasted. It didn't last too long, but it was exciting for every second that it did last, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fun one while it lasted for the crowd in attendance. But yeah, a swift win for Herzog in the end.
Absolutely. Conor Nolan defeated Dan O'Sullivan by split decision. This was a good, interesting, stylistic matchup. I think, obviously we've seen Dan O'Sullivan kind of, performing at the IMMAFs and has a lot of experience in the amateur. Conor Nolan is just breaking onto the scene from CMAC Gym. The difference here, I think, Conor kind of took his time to kind of read the movement, is what I seen of Dan O'Sullivan, and it was kind of like Dan O'Sullivan was kind of keeping that stick and move, which was making it difficult for Nolan to find his range, in my opinion. But he did eventually, I think as the rounds went on, it got a little bit more comfortable for Nolan in there, as maybe Dan O'Sullivan started to slow down, and also Nolan getting that read on him as well. Look at a really, really close fight. A split decision you could see is justified as well. I think I had it scored maybe. I thought Nolan did enough to win the fight, and I thought that the judges got it right overall. But like such a close fight like that, you can understand why it was a split decision, really, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I thought, and again, very, very close, but I thought Nolan got the job done in rounds 2 and 3. But, it's a game of inches, I suppose. It was a fun fight to watch. It was, like, as you mentioned, we've seen Dan O'Sullivan before. And when I think of Dan O'Sullivan, I just picture him with heavy top pressure, with the lad underneath them against the cage and just mauling him. Because he did that. I remember that maybe the first time I saw him with the World, was it last year? I don't know. Anyway, with the first time I kind of saw him fight a few times in quick succession, that was his path to victory, and he was really successful at that. He didn't seem to engage or like. Well, Nolan did a good job of defending any.
Yeah, I think that was the key. I think, like, you know, Sullivan was trying to kind of get in and out with his movement, and did try and get the takedown. But I thought Nolan Collar did very well to stuff those takedowns. And it's important when you're kind of facing somebody like Dan O'Sullivan, who is going to look to try and make you commit with your strikes, so that you can maybe overcommit on one or two, or maybe get a leg kick caught, or get any kind of a kick caught and get taken down. Whereas that, like, he had that composure to stuff the takedown and control the distance pretty much, and stay on the outside, and landed some great shots, some great jabs and 1-2s as well. And, you know, that's one sure way of keeping somebody away from you, because you could see as the fight was progressing that Dan O'Sullivan wanted to close the distance, wanted to put Conor Nolan against the cage and take him down. But I thought Nolan did excellently to kind of dictate where the fight went, and ultimately went on to get the win. So good fight, very entertaining stylistically there for
me. It was, and like, I think, did the commentary kind of mention it was like almost like watching a throwback UFC fight with the way, like, I thought in round one Dan O'Sullivan was doing a great job of, because, you know, they were talking about how like Conor Nolan was maybe might have been the more technical striker, and we kind of saw that play out as he found his range and was able to get his shots off in rounds 2 and 3. But in round 1 and even in round 2, O'Sullivan did a great job of closing the distance and kind of getting into those clinch positions and just throwing those uppercuts, and, you know, kind of a Dan Severn style almost. Like, it was fun.
And that's what you have to do, Andy.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do that. You know, you're going to go in there. Yeah, you're going to go in there at times and fight better technically advanced strikers, or better technically advanced just overall mixed martial artists. And, you know, what you do there is you make it gritty, you make it grindy, and you try and if you have a good cardio, which Dan O'Sullivan has, you know, you just cut that pace, close the distance. And I think he did an excellent job doing that. And, you know, even in defeat, he did well. So all is not lost for Dan O'Sullivan, but a good win for Conor Nolan, a good prospect coming out of CMAC there as well.
Looking forward to seeing both of them back in action, really. Like,
absolutely.
I like watching Dan O'Sullivan fight. There's always he brings it.
You still there?
Yep, still here.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't realize it. You kind of just stopped. He brings it. I thought you kind of stopped mid-sentence there. Sorry.
No, that was it.
All right, perfect. We'll move on.
He brings the heat. He
brings the heat. That's sure. Two boys that did bring the heat in the middleweight division, Andy, Dean O'Driscoll and Declan Ryan. That was a fantastic
fight. Even started, they brought the heat. Dean O'Driscoll's his crowd support brought the heat.
Unreal. There was a massive pop for him before the fight. All the SBG Nace boys and the Nace crowd were really bringing up the heat as this fight was getting off. And even before he got into the cage, it was brilliant to see. What did you think about the fight in total?
Yeah, I thought it was a great fight. I thought that it was very, very close. Like, it looked to me like a very high level amateur fight. Both the lads looked very proficient. The speed of O'Driscoll was really what stood out for me. But I thought that Declan Ryan looked like he looked more than capable. I thought as the fight went on and O'Driscoll found his range and he was landing the jab and the 1-2 and using his length very, very well. I thought he was getting the cleaner strikes. I thought Ryan did a great job. I'm trying to remember now. I thought Ryan did a great job of attacking the legs. Like, he really kind of battering the outside thigh. But ultimately, I thought it was, you know, I think Ryan was a bit disappointed. Was it round 3 maybe? I think it was when he finally kind of got his offensive wrestling going. I thought I would have given that round to him, but I had it up for O'Driscoll overall, 29-28. I think there was a 30-27 in there as well. I was a bit surprised by that one, but it was a close round. You know, I think all 3 rounds were relatively close.
Rounds. Close rounds you could see them going. I did think that Dean O'Driscoll rightfully won the fight, in my opinion. You know, you said it was a very technical and high level amateur fight, and there was one thing that stood out to me that proves that as well, Andy, and it's that how slowly both guys built their way into the fight, because it was very slow at the start, but then it soon kicked into life as well. And I remember back in my
Muay Thai fight.
Yeah, like I remember back in my amateur days too, like you're in there and you're tense and you're nervous and you just want to start throwing punches straight away. But the guys showed some great kind of composure there, making those reads, throwing those feints early on. And that's great to see at amateur levels, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like even I didn't know if I was stupid, because like I'm not a wizard when it comes to technical side, but the feints that kind of stood out for me as well. Where it's like they're not just throwing and hope, they're not winging and hoping that it lands. They're setting up shots. There's phases of offense where trying to lull you into traps, and both of them were at that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them both as they progress in their amateur careers. And yeah, geez, that huge pop for O'Driscoll, and O'Driscoll's the height of him. Like, I thought he was towering over
Big
Ryan
fella,
as well. They
yeah.
almost look in different weight classes.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, and you're right in saying too. Obviously, Ryan was trying to close the distance and get the fight down, and I thought Driscoll did well to keep it on the feet and landed some good shots there as well. Next one, Michael Connolly defeated Darren Murphy by unanimous decision. Traded kicks early on, razor close round one. There was a flurry at the end from Connolly that maybe kind of made me feel he done enough to take round one. Round two was definitely Connolly's for sure. He held position on the cage, landed some good shots. Murray had his best round in round three. It was a close fight again. This was a kind of a trend, and as the night went on, another close fight. But I do feel that Connolly did enough to get the win, and I think the judges got it right overall. What did you think about this fight?
Yeah, I just thought Connolly did better work overall. In round one, I thought he grew into it. As it was very, very razor close at first, but I thought towards the end of the round, as you said, he would land the more damaging shots. Yeah, I agree with your assessment, and not much really happened in round three, and I think I gave that to Connolly, but it could have gone either way really. But yeah, I thought the right guy won definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me, Andy. You were sharing your excitement on Instagram about Kieran Coogan. When he defeated.
I love watching this kid fight.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on that fight.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just my excitement is growing because I'd never heard, when I was up at Cage Conflict, was it last April maybe? I may have heard the name, but I'd never watched him fight, and I'd never seen him fight live, certainly. And I watched him just put a beating on a guy, to the point where he couldn't come out for the third round. And it was the hand speed, it was the ferocity of the strikes. And I was like, gee, like, kind of reminded me of a young Paul Hughes in ways, coming out of the same gym. And I was like, fucking hell, this is a lad to take notice of. And then this fight, his grappling, like, and I've watched a couple of fights since, and his grappling is very, very impressive. He's always dangerous. Like, this fight for me, he was dangerous in every single area, whether it was Rooney coming in and like landing the knee or landing the kick as he's kind of coming in for an entry, to trying to snatch, on a takedown, looking for that was a ninja choke. I think he was going for at one point, and then he was transitioned. I think Rooney shot for a takedown at one point, and he ended up like I don't know what it was. It's some sort of like what's like the fire? What's the one where you tip them over?
Fireman's carry, is it?
Yeah, it was like, I've got that wrong, but it just looked
crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. Like anytime you see anybody flying through the air inside the cage, it's like whoa, and the impact there. But he did so well to recover in that position. He could a slam like that could knock you out if you landed wrong, but he did so well to kind of brace himself, recover, immediately took the back and locked in the choke as well. I mean, the sequence, it nearly reminds you of, like, wasn't it the Kevin Randleman and Fedor Emelianenko on when Randleman kind of suplexed him and then Fedor immediately got him into the armbar, where it was like Coogan was the same, got suplexed and then but immediately found his way into the back of Rooney and then got the choke. Very good fight.
Kind of just textbook as well, because like Rooney had the back and literally just stripped the arm, turned over straight, like
lovely, almost
day one jiu-jitsu kind of like defense straight in, and then to get to the back that quick and sink the choke was beautiful. Good thing he was that suplex. Good. Also, did you notice the suplex was kind of weird? It was like kind of coming like over the shoulder. It wasn't like belly to belly suplex. It was kind of a weird hold.
It was, yeah. He kind of only had like, I think, it'd be kind of like a body lock takedown, which turned into a kind of a suplex. I'd say I don't know. It was just crazy at the time. I was like watching it.
Do you know what I was thinking? I was like, it's a good thing they're over at the side there, because as I was watching the fights, I was just thinking, that fucking chandelier right in the middle of the cage is huge. Like the ceiling's so low. I'm like, if you had done that in the middle of the cage, you'd probably take it.
The chandelier could have been in trouble if that happened in the middle of the cage.
Like if that was a middleweight or something, like it's lucky it was flyweights.
Oh my goodness, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. Moving on to the next one. Nicolai Shiopu beat Marco Cardillo in the first round submission and standing guillotine choke for that one. Crazy start to the fight. Cardillo, he kind of initiated the grappling exchanges here, had full mount, but then got caught in a guillotine. Scopa pushed off the cage, created a scramble, and kept a good hold of the guillotine when he was standing. He kind of took Cardillo off the ground with the choke as well and got the tap. So that was kind of scary to see. You have a choke in tight when you're lifting 2 feet off the ground of your opponent. So that was a brilliant win, a kind of a helter-skelter kind of a fight. Mad start, mad scrambles, and then a mad finish. So very entertaining fight for as long as it landed.
I think he'll have to pick himself up, and because I think he's fighting over the worlds, isn't he?
That's right, yeah. That's right.
He'll have to pick himself up and go again there.
Yeah. Just to quickly go through the last couple of fights there, I thought that Ciprian Dita, who defeated Reese Meehan, was a round 3 TKO. This was a catchweight fight. Dita looked really powerful in this fight, landing powerful strikes. Meehan was trying to take the fight down. But it was a big body kick and a lovely flurry that finished the fight from Dita, who really excited me. He's a very explosive fighter. Really kind of moves forward and throws kill shots all the time. So I was massively impressed by him. I'd be interested in keeping an eye on him. Ger Ryan defeated Demetrio Pintelli by unanimous decision. Another good fight as well. Pintelli landed a couple of big shots on the feet. Ryan kind of started slow but came into it halfway through round 1. And then it was just the grappling that took over for Ger Ryan throughout. Almost had to finish at the end of round 2, but it was a great win for Ryan, and he deserved a win by unanimous decision. And he thought
probably a huge one for him as well. I see, he's going into that, he's 0-4 as an amateur, and fighting guys like, Aaron McDonald, Damien McKenna, George Grosov, like they're all quite tough fights to start off your amateur career. So
for sure,
good to see him get a win.
Yeah, brilliant to see him get a win. The opening fight, David Zamora defeated David Gleason by first round rear naked choke. Fairly straightforward. Once it got to the mat, secured the position straight away and got the choke. Got a bit of a commentator's curse from Niall Sutherland saying Gleason is difficult to take down. But these things happen when you're behind I have to
2
say,
seconds later.
I don't want that to be the only thing I say about Niall. I thought he was excellent behind the desk. He was there beside Paul Brown, and both of them did an excellent job calling the
Swiss
fights.
Army knife.
Yeah,
the 2 of them actually Swiss Army
knives. Absolutely. I thought Niall did a great job, and I think Premier FC did a great job as well. Another successful card that kicks us off on the regional scene for Irish MMA, and we'll have plenty more regional action coming along as well.
One critique and one positive.
Go for it.
Just discuss about it now. I'll go with the negative first. That Fresh Prince of Bel-Air remix, whatever it was, I loved the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but bin it, it's horrendous. The remix is horrendous. But what I will say, whoever put Mickey Joe Hart on, we've got the world tonight.
You're a Mickey Joe Hart fan,
unreal.
You like
unreal. Oh, brings
it.
back, was that Eurovision 2010 or something, is it? Or 2008?
Jeez, yeah, that's unreal. A long time ago. I remember it wasn't he Mickey Joe Hart was in was it Eurostar or something? That reality TV
he
show?
Won Eurostar, and
back in the day.
What a man, a good Tyrone man, I believe.
Fair play to him. Fair play to Mickey Joe. Before we round it up,
I'm just fucking talking shit here. You're dead right though. Fair play to Premier. They put on a solid show. Niall Sunderland, always a pleasure to deal with when it comes to getting information about the cards, etc. And the 2 lads did a great job. And also, Paul Brown is just fucking class. Like, he's really, really good at commentating. I think one of the big shows would be foolish to not get him in, maybe for one of the Dublin cards. I mean, I know it's probably difficult, but I'd love to see him get an opportunity at some point. And he's only really started last year with a lot of the volume of commentating he's doing. But I think he could go on to much bigger shows, to be honest.
Absolutely, and it'd be great to see, but it would be not great to see too, because that means we wouldn't get to listen to him on the regional shows. But a great time for Paul. Did a great job as well, and he's going to be a busy man this year, I can tell you that. And I'm sure he's delighted about that too. Look, before we go, we'll wrap up. We spend a couple of minutes, obviously news breaking over the start of this week as well, that Conor McGregor has agreed to be a coach on The Ultimate Fighter. For an Irish MMA podcast, Andy, we have to say we don't talk about Conor all that much here. And that shows that there's plenty else going on in Irish mixed martial arts at the minute. But him going on to Tough, in my opinion, it's a good move for all parties. A good move for Conor, a good move for the UFC, and a good move for the Ultimate Fighter TV show as well. He'll likely bring in the numbers and bring in a bit of interest to a show that badly needs a bit of interest.
People might
right
actually
now.
watch it for once.
Yeah, I have not watched it in the longest time, but interesting that it's the kind of thing that I seen that was absolutely great idea that I was raging that I didn't think of before I seen it, because it's the perfect entry for him back in after the injury as well. And he said he'd be engrossed into it. What's your thoughts on the whole situation? Who would you like to kind of go in there and see him coaching against, or who would you speculate that it is?
Yeah, I think it's great for a number of reasons. I mean, like the fact that we still don't know what the story is with this USADA pool, and if it's probably has to do 6 months unless he's going to get some mad exemption. But like, if you have to go into the pool for 6 months, you're kind of need to buy a little bit of time, because he's been out for a while, as is obviously with the injury. Buy a little time for a return. I heard Ariel Helwani talking about maybe like a Q3 2023 return, something like that. So
imagine around August or September. He had been talking about maybe going back in February, and then if he starts, and obviously he'll be able to continue doing it while over there doing the coaching as well. It'd be interesting.
But it'd be brilliant. Like, I'd love to see him get Irish lads on this. Like, I'd love for him to go back to. Like, I think, the way, like, he came into the UFC and it was all about his teammates, and obviously, like, he was so close with them and bigged them up, and he dragged, obviously these days it's a bit different, but he dragged Artem in there, and Artem had those crazy knockouts on the Ultimate Fighter, and it was brilliant. You'd like to see Conor almost like Uncle Conor, like with the next generation of Irish fighters who he's not necessarily teammates with, but he can give him that spot. Like the guy, like, I don't know, like I saw Dean Barry post today that he's not doing it or whatever, but like there's loads of lads from SBG, for example, obviously Conor's gym, like a Franz Malambo or a Lee Hammond, or I think there's loads of lads.
It's going to depend on what weight division. Normally they do 2 weight divisions. I believe one of the weight divisions is supposed to be lightweight this year. And that's, I mean, you've got to be getting someone like Lee Hammond in there. I would be delighted to see him get that opportunity, and he'd be well able to mix it up with any level of fighter that goes in there in lightweight as well. Getting that level of exposure for Lee as well would be great, and obviously it would give him, an extra added boost having Conor and his coach in the gym at the same time as well. So it'd be interesting to see.
Maybe a problem for some lads is they're all signed up by Bellator as well. So
another problem that I could see is that it is an open draw as well in tough household. So imagine if Lee Hammond got picked for the opposite team, and he'd actually have Conor, unless they were doing something like
he could do 100% fucking swindle that. Like,
I'd say there'd be a few strokes pulled, all right, for sure.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Do like they'll never do it, but like Ireland versus whoever.
I wouldn't think they'd do Ireland.
I
think it'll probably
Europe,
be Europe versus US or something like that, maybe. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. Look, it's an interesting story that Sean Sheehan broke on SevereMMA.com. You can go over there and click out all the full details. Conor will be joining the show along with coach John Kavanagh as well. So very, very interesting developments, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more when more details emerge from that as well. And that rounds up. And go ahead.
We do have one more. Well, we've just since we last recorded, I think we were chatting about Ian Garry and who we wanted to see Ian Garry, and we're chatting about Brian Barberena.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he gets matched with Keenan Song.
There you go. Yeah. Look at he wanted Brian Barberena, it didn't happen. I'm delighted that Ian Garry is back here and getting in action as well, man. And we don't have to wait that long either. The 4th of March is not too long away. Get in there, get the job done. But I think, the way Ian is speaking right now is he wants that jump up. And what I would like to see from Ian is to go in there and put on a statement performance. And how you get a fight with Brian Barberena is you go out there and you finish Keenan Song. And that's it. It can be undeniable. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Ian said he wants to fight 3 times this year. I think he's well capable of doing that. I think this is, as equal a test as he would have got against Gabe Green. Obviously Keenan Song has a lot of experience, but I think Ian Garry is the much better fighter and should win. And I think he's going to be, and by the sounds of things, he's going to be pushing to get Keenan Song out of there, which could open up the door for a bigger and better fight later in 2023.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's set up. Or we're not set up, but I mean, to be fair, I know he's not. Keenan Song's not the matchup that anyone was screaming for, but he does have 25 fights. I know he hasn't fought in a couple of years, but he's fought really, really. I mean, I'm looking at some of the guys like Alex Morono, Brad Riddell. I think he fought Adesanya, a few others. Like, Now, anytime he's come up against any of these guys, he's lost. So this is the, you're expected to go out and I imagine the UFC matchmakers are saying, here's Keenan Song. He's 32, he's 25 fights, loads of experience. He's fought loads of tough guys, but you have to go out and put him away here.
Yeah, 100%. I believe Harry kind of labelled one fight a veteran test, and this would be kind of a veteran test per se for Ian Gary, a guy in there with a lot of experience. So, yeah, exciting times. We'll be looking forward to seeing that fight. We'll take a closer look to it, to that fight also as it gets a little bit closer, and that kind of rounds us up for this episode of the Auld Triangle. Thanks to everybody for listening in. Thanks to Nathan Kelly. Thanks to Ronan Deegan for joining us as guests. Thanks to Caoilte for joining us earlier, and thanks to you for joining me for the later stages.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Ian.
And thank myself. I don't like thanking myself. It's just too awkward.
Well,
to do that.
I'll thank you.
Thanks, brother.
You're a great lad. You're a great
Appreciate
lad.
it.
Should we get Caoilte to take us away at the end?
Yeah, I was going to say we were going to get Caoilte to take away, but seeing as he's not here, Andy, I'm going to bestow that honour onto you. Can you please take it away? Well, first of all, we say thanks for listening. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We always appreciate your support. Give us an old 5-star rating over on Spotify. We always appreciate that as well. Shared with a friend. And Andy Stevenson, you have the floor to see us out for the end of this episode, good sir.
I will hand it over to my good friend Caoilte de Barra, who will take us out off Scailga, and he'll say, Ihawa agus slán go fáil. That's fucking down. I don't know what